Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League, where tonight we bring you the biggest, most prestigious race of the entire Flexware College Cup Series season. Where only minutes ago, the NASCAR Cup Series crowned a new Daytona 500 champion, the CIL will take to the high banks of that very same racetrack for our Freedom 250 presented by Flotic TV. It is indeed the great internet race, the longest race of the season. 250 miles stand between 40 of our drivers, and not only a spot in the Flexware College Cup Series playoffs, but also a place alongside Jason Wallet and Timothy Moore in eternal CIL glory as Daytona 250 champions. But to get there, our drivers will have to navigate 100 laps of side-by-side super speedway racing, where inches make all the difference, and one slight mistake means that not only will you end your night, but everyone around you. The big one, always looming on the horizon, can strike at any moment, and in a matter of seconds, you can go from in the hunt to waiting one more season for a shot at the most coveted single race prize in all of collegiate sim racing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Freedom 250 at Daytona, presented by Flotic.net. As I'm your host this evening, Zach Lindler, alongside Lucas Moody for the first time in the booth, and we're going to take you flag to flag as we inch closer to the green flag of this electric, exciting race.
Yeah, as you said, the big one is bound to happen. Even today in the IRL Daytona 500, we had that kind of mini crash early on in the race, and they stayed green besides the stages for basically the entire race. And then with around 10 laps to go, the drivers, they started getting antsy. They wanted to push for that win with little time remaining, and that's when the big one happens. It happens when, they're all being aggressive at the end of the race, and as you said, it's all about surviving it.
Surviving up until the very end, indeed. And it's finding that fine balance between aggression, it's go time, it's time to make these moves, versus, well, I'm just going to play it safe a little bit and try and just tick off the laps at this massive 2.5 mile tri-oval racetrack. 31 degrees of banking in the corners. It's one of the steepest tracks on the entire NASCAR circuit, with 15 degrees of banking in the tri-oval. Very quick pit speed here, 55 miles an hour, and pit road is going to be a very busy place at certain points during this race, especially if we see green flag pit stops. With this fuel tank that lasts anywhere from about 35 to 45 laps, depending on where you are in the pack. This isn't as much of a race, as we said during our Ignition Zone pre-race show, as it is a 190 mile an hour chess match for 250 miles. You're trying to pace yourself. You're trying to make the strategic moves to get yourself to the front of the field. You're trying to figure out who you want to work with, who your buddies are, and maybe who the people you want to stay away from are as well. So strength in numbers tonight for many of our drivers in the field.
Yeah, this race is really all about finding those cars that you can work with. I did a couple of Daytona 500s over the weekends, and really what you want to do is you want to find the cars that know how to bump, that know how to receive a bump, and you 3 or 4 cars just want to pull away from the rest of the pack. And if you're able to lock that down, a 3 or 4 car train is the quickest train you can have in iRacing. So if you're able to get one of those down and drop the rest of the pack, you are set until the next caution. That is really the goal.
And you see in our vehicle statistics there, slightly different package for this super speedway race. 510 horsepower down from 670. They dropped the horsepower in these cars, and they gave the spoilers a bit of a bump as well. So definitely high draft, high downforce, flat out through these corners. And the draft is extremely powerful at Daytona. In fact, it's worth about 2 seconds a lap, as we saw during the race, the Daytona 500 this afternoon. So these drivers are going to want to do everything they can to stay in that lead pack. As Lucas, I think the time has come, producer Christian urging us along. We're going to go ahead and make our picks for tonight's race. I know it's a bit of a kind of like throwing a rock in a lake, but certainly we can definitely make our picks. Given that this is your first time in the booth, I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to let you have first stab.
Yeah, as you said, a lot of the drivers in Discord were joking around where they're going to finish this race. We're going to make a random wheel generator, put numbers 1 through 43, and then spin it. That's where they're going to finish. because that's how random these races can be, right? But anyways, for my pick, I have a little bit of insider knowledge, a little bit of Ball State insider knowledge, and I have a pretty pick out of left field. But I think that Andrew Stagey has a very good shot of winning this race. Let me say why. Because I know Muhammad Ali, he has a win. He's locked in the playoff. Daniel Nanny has a win. He's locked in the playoff. They are going to do everything they can, make sure to push Andrew to get his first win, to lock him into the playoffs. And I think that Ball State team, I mean, not only those two, you have Ben and Kelton as well. I think Andrew has a good shot of winning this race.
Speaking, of course, as a member of that Great Wall of Ball that we talk about in some of our races, we mentioned that strength comes in numbers, and Ball State with a considerable number of drivers in the field. So that's a pretty strong pick, I'd say. I can definitely see Stagey getting up there, up towards the front, especially when he's got teammates working with him. But as for my pick, my money line shot, I got to go with Matthew Morton. There's just no picking against him. He's incredibly strong. He's really good at all kinds of racing here in the Flexware College Cup Series. He almost won this event last season, where he and Drew Jawa and Timothy Moore, a couple of those other Nexus drivers, really worked well together to get up to the field, ultimately pushing Tim Moore to that victory. But I think actually just getting word that Matthew Morton is not in this session. So that blows my pick right out of the water. Oh gosh, let's see. You know what? I'm going to pick Andrew Williams. You were right. Strength comes in numbers. And I know that there's at least 3 Clemson drivers in the field tonight. So I think those Clemson guys are going to work together to push Williams up to the front. He's been second so many times in the College Cup Series. I think tonight is the night that he finally gets his breakout victory for Clemson and locks himself into the playoffs.
I see. We're gonna have Andrew versus Andrew. So
nice, it is the Andrew battle. So
it's the Andrew
if
battle.
Somebody named Andrew wins this race, we're gonna have a good time.
Let's go.
How about, since the big one is always looming on the horizon, what about a backup pick? And are we cheating out if we have a backup pick?
I don't know if it's much as cheating as just being smart. Because as we talked about, I mean, it's such a wheel spin. And if Andrew Williams, Andrew Stagey, they both get taken out in the big one. So, I mean, why not,
I think I'm thinking back to last year's race. Edward Sanchez, I think, is going to be my dark horse pick for tonight's race. He finished third in that race in his College Cup Series debut. He was very much involved in the pack at the front of the field at all times. So I think that number 26 Brute College machine also has a pretty good shot at taking it to victory lane.
My dark horse, I'm going to go with the 19 car, Ricky Paz. He's had some good races. I know that he's got really good awareness, so he's going to be able to avoid those if they come. So if the big one does happen, he will most likely get around it. And we know that he has some teammates in Ethan Decatur, and if he tries to team up with some of the Indiana crews, he might get some other pushers. And we'll never Ricky Paz. I think it's a good dark horse pick.
I think I seem to remember from a couple seasons ago where he got commended for his pushing as well. So sometimes you don't have to be the best at the front of the line. Sometimes getting you to the front means that you got to be able to push others really well. It's definitely an art form in these NASCAR Next Gen cars, but it is going to be the key to getting up to the front and staying there, is being able to push the guy in front of you to make sure that you're staying as quick as you can. As I believe qualifying has wrapped or is close to wrapping up, so we're going to do an onboard ride with one of our drivers to see just exactly how intense it is here at Daytona. We're going to be riding on board with one of the Clemson cars in the field. This is Trevor Rizzo in the 06 for Clemson University. This is a very, very a simple lap, throttle and brake wise. You're on the gas the entire way around, but it requires incredibly precise steering input. So you can see through turns 1 and 2, getting as close to that white or that double yellow line at the bottom of the track as you can, washing out on exit, using all the car's momentum that you can to keep that speed up as high as possible down this extremely long backstretch into turns 3 and 4. It's back down to the bottom for Rizzo. And you see him hugging that double yellow line as close as humanly possible, all the way till you get out of turn 4, wash out just a little bit, don't go all the way to the wall. but keep your foot in the throttle, get all the way down to the bottom, arcing as wide as you can to keep your speed up. And that is a lap around Daytona for qualifying, but a race lap looks so much more different around this track.
Race lap, cars weaving all.
I believe you're cutting out a little bit there.
Let me make some adjustments here. But yeah, you're going to be just reading the car ahead of you, just trying to stay behind the car without running through them, right? So you're lifting, and that will cause some weaving, and yeah, it'll be a good race.
And I believe qualifying has come to an end. So let's get into tonight's starting grid for our Freedom 250 at Daytona, presented by Floatic TV. Take it away.
All right, so we got pole position, Jake Cummings for Wingate University. And in P2, Armin Hamid Ali for Ball State. And then on the second row, in position number 3 of Edward Sanchez for Baruch College, and Brandon Schulebergen for also Wingate University. Looking back at the third row, we have another Ball State driver, Kelvin Quick, and another Ball State driver for Daniel Nanny. A wall of balls already forming. In row 4, we have Matthew Burton of East Tennessee State University and Clint Halterman of UNC Charlotte. In row 5, Jake Hall of Clemson and Zach DeWale of St. Clair College.
Looking at our second set of 10 drivers, Ben Neller is going to start to the inside of Andrew Williams, Ball State, and Clemson on that row. Row 7, Andrew Stagey from Ball State University starts to the inside of Austin DeLong from the Pennsylvania College of Technology. Row number 8, Nick Stockner from Clemson will start next to former Daytona 250 champ Jason Wallet from Drexel, who we talked to at the very top of the show during the Ignition Zone pre-race show. Row 9, Charles Wembley from Guilford College will start next to Logan Smith from Auburn University. And rounding out our top 20, Matt Nordberg from NC State and Carmine Caruso from Pennsylvania State.
Row 11, we have my dark horse pick of Ricky Paz from Valparaiso University and the 43 car of Sky Shrek from the University of Oklahoma. Row 12, we have Andrew Burrell from Clemson University, and we have Timothy Wilms from Drexel. Row 13, we have Landon Villick from Auburn University and Ryan Whitlock from University of Alabama, Huntsville. Row 14, we have Ricky Paz's teammate, Ethan Decatur from also Valparaiso, and the 808 car of Dylan Godinez from Penn College of Technology. And row 15, we have Michael Sidor, also from Penn College of Technology, and Zachary Tallman, also from Penn College of Technology.
A lot of PCT cars starting next to each other as we look towards the last few cars in the field. Peyton DeLong from Penn State will start next to Felix Caporale from ECU. Row 17, Alan Hong from St. Clair, Trevor Rizzo from Clemson. Row 18, Alex Finnerty from UNC Charlotte, Edwin Onofre from UNT. Row 19, Lucas Moody is not actually racing. He is up here in the booth, but that is going to be our starting grid for tonight's Freedom 250. It's 100 laps at 2.5 miles a lap. We are getting ready to crown a brand new Daytona 250 champ. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing at Daytona, boys and girls.
What do you need, Ed? Ooh, Leaves took the lid. Austin DeLong just lost it, by the way. Ooh, there's going to be a yellow coming out, I think.
It's a relatively calm start from our drivers up at the front of the field as Jake Cummings and that low line have gotten a little bit of a breakaway over Arba Hamid Alif and that outside line. Two lines right now, nose to tail down through the field. as these drivers are now on lap 2 of 100. It's a long race tonight, and these drivers are just gonna, right now, they are just focused on getting into striking position to the end of the race.
Not too easy. However, if that outside line can start getting momentum, it is very powerful around here in the side draft. So let's see what they can do.
Yeah, the short-term speed is definitely going to go to that bottom line, but already I'm seeing some cars jumping up to that high line. It's coming, or yes, excuse me, that's Schulenberger behind Alif, Nanny behind him. Some very powerful, strong cars in contention at the front of that high line. I think I see Clint Halterman as well, and that the Norm car from UNC Charlotte trying to get his way up to the front as well. So look for that high line to come back in a couple of laps as that momentum begins to equalize out. But for the time being, it is Jake Cummings as the Pied Piper out front here at Daytona. And just like that, here comes the high line with a massive momentum run down the backstretch, and that is going to rocket both Alif and Schulenberger out in front of Cummings. Where is Schulenberger going to go? He's going to go down low to link up with his teammate. That is going to be a very, very powerful combo with those two Wingate cars, as we now have two Ball State cars linking up together to lead that high line.
Yeah, just as we were talking about it, all the outside line needs is a little checkup from the inside line, and they're going to get that run, go around the 100 car Jake Cummings, and now we have, as you said, two pairs of teammates linked up, the 12 and the 30 of Ball State and the 7 and the 100 of Wingate University. And it looks like Daniel Nanny is going to give a huge bump here to Alif, and I'm curious if Daniel's going to push him to the corners. He might honestly just start pulling away. Doesn't look like it, but it's going to be good. And I think we had a little bit of contact in the back of the pack. Oh, and there we go. Oh, shoot.
As Nanny accidentally turns Alif, and we're 4 wide for the lead. Who's going to wind up in front, as that is going to leave Alif hung out to dry in between those two lanes. But the advantage for the time being going to that outside line, as Daniel Nanny is going to inherit the lead after a push gone wrong against his teammate. Alif going to fall back more than a few positions, in fact, outside of the top 10, as he's going to try and work his way back in. Matthew Burton jumps up in front of him, as there was a little bit of a separation between him and the rest of that pack on the outside line, as Burton now scored as the last car in the top 10. Now Kelton Quick. So this is the top 10 in front of you, looking out the front windshield of Alif.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. You have to be very, very careful in bumping. Even though it's two teammates who have undoubtedly bumped each other before and done countless hours of practice in the draft together, it's still, if you hit the car just right, it can get the car head loose. And I mean, Alif saved that from being the big one right there, I'll tell you that. Because if the top two cars crash, it's not going to end up well for the cars behind.
I want to get a replay of that, because Alif came down and absolutely smacked the 7 out of the way, the 7 all the way down onto the apron. But great saves by really all 4 of those drivers who were jockeying for the lead to not cause a huge crash in the early stages of this race. But now Clint Halterman using that momentum on the high side to his advantage. He dropped down low about a lap ago. He's going to move back up to the top to block the run from Nanny. Nanny's going to give him a shot to the bumper, as Norm is going to lead the field that time by, but not if Wingate University, that couplet on the bottom, if they have anything to say about it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight for these top runners now, because now that Alif has been pushed to the back, it looks like it's going to be Jake Cummings, Clint Halterman, and Daniel. And I think it looks like Daniel is going to try to team up with Clint here, try to get the outside line going. It looks like they are going to get it going. Clint can maybe get past Jake here. It was close, but as I mentioned earlier, this outside line, it works in pushes, right? So it's going to make one big push and they'll fall back, and then another big push and they'll fall back a little. Looks like, here we go, outside line's going to try and make another lunge here. And can they get it? Clint barely gets ahead of Jake Cummings, but I don't know if they're going to be able to keep it through the corner.
Already working on some lap traffic. That's the 06 car of Trevor Rizzo. Going to go a lap down in a couple of corners here. But we're going to take a quick look at that incident just a couple of laps ago that almost brought out the first caution of the race. We're going to see the push gone wrong at the top. The 12 of Alif out front. Daniel Nanny, his teammate, just behind him. You see those two Wingate cars on the bottom. Alif goes sideways. hits Schulenberger out of the way. Great save from both of those cars. Schulenberger lucky to just slide right back up in
Nah,
line,
it didn't.
and Leaf got hung out to dry. He lost about 10, 12 positions because of that. Working on lap 9 of 100 and tonight's Freedom 250 presented by Flotic.net, who's bringing us these pictures live in the studio as Jake Cummings and Clint Halterman right now, the two Pied Pipers of the field. It's really interesting that this two wide pack, about 20-something cars deep, has completely broken away from the second half of the field. You can see that gap about 5, 6 seconds off of the leaders. As you see there, the lead pack coming through turn 4, and that second pack not even in the picture at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like that front pack has really started to pull away, which very bad news back behind. But if you're in that front pack, you're thinking it's good. Because yeah.
Like a little bit of a momentum shift now as the low line is going to get the better run coming out of turn number 2. The difference between these two lines and how they run, that low line is going to get the advantage on distance. They have a shorter distance to run around the track. It's the shorter line around the corners, but that high line, they're going to be able to keep their pace up, as I believe the first caution is going to come out. You saw everybody check up. But caution number 1 of tonight's event is going to fly here at Daytona on lap number 10.
Yeah, a caution has been thrown. We didn't see anything in the front pack, so I wonder if it had to do with something maybe a little farther back. I'm sure we're going to replay here soon to take a look at that. But yeah, it's going to make a really another interesting restart and see how those top two cars, Jake Cummings and Brandon Schulenberger, can get away. And since they're teammates, maybe they can even try to link up back together, or maybe they'll have to go head-to-head, inside versus outside, as we've been seeing.
As we're going to try to get a replay and see what possibly brought this caution out. Focusing on the 808 of Dylan Godinez right now. Wondering if it was him, or maybe we can chalk this one up to debris on track. There you see, this was unfolding in the second pack. Yeah. Pretty self-explanatory right there.
Yeah. Just appeared to happen. I didn't get too good of a look at that. But yeah, what I'm curious about actually is if people are going to come into pit, because we talked about
I think the correct call is coming into the pits. You got 10 laps under your belt. You're kind of getting a feel for how the car is working under in drafting conditions. And now we're going to see everybody come down pit road to top off those fuel tanks. We talked about how critical pit stops are going to be. Don't speed on pit road. Don't overshoot your pit box. 55 miles an hour down pit road. That's very, very fast for these drivers. So keep the mistakes clean on pit, or keep it free of mistakes on pit road. As actually, I think it was just the back half of the field came down.
Yeah.
A lot of our drivers out front might have stayed out. Leaf stayed out. Ryan Whitlock out, as well as Nick Stockner just in front of them.
Yeah, it does appear that most of those front drivers have stayed out, which at least what I believe is the correct call, because if you do pit now, the fuel you get will probably take you to around lap 50, and you'll have to make another pit stop at 50. And I don't know if I'd take that risk of trying to run a tank of fuel on 50 laps. So I think it is the right call to stay out, but it all depends on where the cautions line up, and it all depends on where the luck goes, really.
And we've seen how these plate races, these super speedway races, can become fuel mileage games. We saw in the Daytona 500 earlier today that the lead cars actually down to about 170 miles an hour when they were trying to save fuel. But
yeah, I don't think we'll see any I don't think we'll see too much of the lifting in an iRacing game. I might be wrong, but yeah, as you said, in the real Daytona, to save fuel, sometimes they were going 50, 70% throttle, not even in the draft, just by themselves. Um, Hopefully it doesn't have to come down to that to some of these drivers, but if they mess up their pitch strategy, that is what it would come down to.
One thing I would like to point out about that 100 car of Jake Cummings, he has a three-peat for pole positions here at Daytona. He's got every single time we have had a Daytona 250, that 100 Wingate car has started on pole. So I don't know what Cummings is cooking behind the wheel of that car, but he's got some serious speed in qualifying.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And a lot of drivers will say that qualifying around super speedways is luck. But I guess that completely disproves that statement. Because as you've seen, as you talked about, Jake Cummings, you're right. Pole 3 times in a row, which he definitely has that strat figured out. Because I'm going to be honest, qualifying at super speedways, it's a bit of a cheese. You have to know the right strategies, the right speed you have to go to exit the pit lane. It's all really just a bunch of cheese strategies, but it looks like Jake Cummings has found the one that works the best.
Yeah, it's all about precision. It's all about knowing the car and the track as much as you can. And it certainly is playing into his favor right now as he has the lead of this race and will be the control car as we come to the green. I'm noticing some damage maybe on that number 7 Wingate car. So I'm wondering if that's what he maybe picked up that damage when a leaf got turned into him. But that's going to severely deter that top line from getting any sort of pace so long as that number 7 car is in front. So I think it would be wise for him, maybe some team orders here from the 2 Wingate drivers to get that number 7 car tucked in behind the 100 on this restart. That'll leave Kelton Quick to inherit the top line, to be the line leader at the top.
Yeah, and if that does happen, if Brandon Schulenberger does come down behind the 100 car, it does leave the 2 car and the 79 car, another pair of Ball State teammates. It'll be like Ball State 2 Electric Boogaloo. You saw before this caution, we had a Leaf Indiano connected, and we might have Kelton and Ben connected here, which I know they're very close friends, and their computers are actually facing one another here at the session or at the rig.
And the green flag flies once again at Daytona. Actually, the bottom lane got an insanely good restart as Jake Cummings is going to drag Edward Sanchez with him to a massive lead coming through turns 1 and 2. There you see the 7 makes the move to the bottom. He's going to dart out right in front of the 98 of Jake Hall, and it is a hornet's nest behind them as these drivers are going to jockey for position.
And as we talked about, as we see, those Ball State cars are trying to connect, but it looks like the 076 and the 123 car Williams. Oh, and Ben is in the wall. 79 car is in the wall around Daytona. He's not going to be doing that.
That's going to kill his momentum, and Neller is going to drop to the back of the field into the clutches of some of these drivers towards the back. He's going to slot in right in front of that Clemson car of Andrew Burrell. But up toward the front of the field, it does look like there was a run coming from the 98 of Jake Hall. I believe that was leading that outside line. Looks like somebody jumped up in front of him for the time being to take control of that line.
Yeah, looks like Jake Wall, Zach DeWale, and Andrew Williams are going to try to get that outside line going, try to get that momentum back. And as we saw earlier, before that caution, that outside line can be very, very powerful if the right drivers can connect.
Let's see. You picked Andrew Stagey. I picked Andrew Williams. Williams is that 3rd car in line on the top. Where's Stagey right now? I can't tell which Ball State car is his.
He looks to be down in 20th right now, so my pick's not faring out too well, but the big one comes, you never know what happens.
And that very well could be a brilliant strategy call from Stagey at the moment. A lot of drivers will elect to drop to the back of the field, especially when some of the racing has been a little suspicious up towards the front, and they know the big one is coming. They're going to drop to the back so that way they can get on the brakes if they see smoke ahead and try to Lightning McQueen their way through the incident site. So possible strategic call there. Daniel Nanny back there as well. So a teammate dropping back with him as we look back up towards the front. It's an orange wheel racing lockup on this top line. 5 of those cars in that technical alliance led by Nick Stockner at the moment. Ryan Whitlock going to go 3 wide with them for the time being. Let's see if he gets hung out to dry, but it's It's so many Clemson cars up there at the moment. Stockner and Hall, then Whitlock, DeWale, and Drew Williams. Matt Nordberg behind them as well. It's actually 6 orange wheel racing cars linked up together. Strength in numbers as they're going to try to lead the charge on the high line, but the dominant factor right now is going to go to the low side, led by reigning alumni champion Jake Cummings.
Yeah, that third line, that middle line, now where you want to go. You got the two drafts. You got the two drafts coming from the top line and the bottom line. It's going to slow you down. And not only that, but you have no cars ahead, no cars behind, and you want to get out of that third line as quick as possible.
And it looks like that run has all but fallen apart for those guys on the top as Matt Nordberg has bailed out and chosen to take back to that bottom line. But the OWR drivers sticking to that top line, they are going to make it work. It's actually a pretty decent run of momentum going into turns 1 and 2. We're going to see how that works down the backstretch. They're equal with about the 4th car in line. Hall all over the back of Stockner right now, as they're going to try and lead the charge up to the 3rd car in line. Stockner equal with Brandon Schulenberger at the moment, and he is still working his way up towards the front. And just like that, the top line has come back to life.
Yeah, it makes his move in lunges, and you saw it fall back a little bit, but then boom, it goes straight through, and it dropped from about maybe 6 cars back to only 3 cars back, and it's going to try another lunge here. You might see some pushing from the 38 car, or sorry, the 98 car and the 124 car, the teammates from Clemson. And yeah, here we go. Jake Hall is going to push Nick Stockner here, even in the corners. There's those who are confident with the pushing, and they want to make the move.
Jake Hall in his brand new sim rig. You mentioned pushing in the corners. A lot of drivers consider that to be a taboo. You don't do that at all, but obviously the teamwork here between Hall and Stockner playing into their favor, as Hall delivering some pretty big shots to the back bumper of that number 124 car. And it's working for them. They're hanging with this bottom lane, as it's now a little bit of a breakaway for those top 3 cars. Cummings out in front of Sanchez, in front of Schulenberger, leading that bottom lane.
Yeah, and you can see it on his onboard. When you get into that draft of the car behind and start bumping them, your car becomes super unstable. So you saw him shaking his wheel back and forth, and even makes the front car unstable too, as it just did to Nick Stockner. But bumping, it's a risky strategy through the corners, but it's what those two are going to need to do if they want to catch these quick cars, Edward Sanchez and Jake Cummings.
I want to shout out Michael Seidor for PCT in that number 15 car. You can see the 4th car in line on the bottom. He has quietly worked his way up into the top 10.
Yeah, and another car, it looks like Edwin Onofre has made his way up to the top 15, started dead last. So very good race for him so far.
As we are now officially a 5th of the way through tonight's Freedom 250, celebrating the great American pastime of going real fast and turning real left. Brought to you by Flotic.net, bringing you all the picture you see tonight and beyond.
Here they go again.
On that high line, yep. That outside line is boogieing.
They're going to try here, pushing through the corner once again, trying to see how far they can get this lunge. Because if you're able to get 2 cars clear of that inside line, both Stockner and Hall are going to be able to drop down, kill the momentum out of the outside line, and take the 1-2.
And now it's Stockner to the point of the Daytona 250.
There they go.
Can both of those cars clear the bottom lane? Yes, they can, but it looks like they are going to elect to stay with their teammates. New leader at the line, that time by Nick Stockner of Clemson University.
Yeah, it appears to be that they think that outside line is the right place to be right now, and they're going to keep it high. And I honestly agree with them, because they were able to link up so well, and because you have the side draft from the inside line, sometimes staying the outside line, staying that high line is the way to go. As you can see a little further back, you have Andrew Williams, Zach DeWale, Daniel Nanny, Armin Muhammad Ali, Clint Halterman even, a lot of big names in that high line. So it's going to be able to get some momentum. But as we're just saying that, it looks like they're going to fall back behind now Jake Cummings.
I was just about to say, don't look now, but here come those Ball State cars again. Daniel Nanny got sent to the back of the field when he came down for pit service. Muhammad Ali dumped out of the lead earlier on. Both of those drivers now making their way back towards the top 10, working together with those OWR cars. And at the front, to try and get back up towards the front of this pack, as we see some St. Clair lap traffic at risk of going on a lap down in a couple of turns here. That might make for some interesting interactions, especially for this high line with all the momentum they've got. That lap traffic is actually an extremely valuable asset when they're in front of you. They're going to generate a wake that even you as the leader can suck up to. They've got the draft that you can use. But whenever you get alongside them, that lap car has got to be predictable. You've got to find a way to go around them, as it looks like trying to split the uprights. Lap traffic gone wrong as the big one unfolds behind them, possibly. No! Everybody's going to save it. We stay green. Doctor tried to go above the lap traffic, but at the last second, mine's changing, and that is disaster for the Clemson cars at the front of the field. As now Hall gets turned again, and he's going to get turned into the wall by Stockner and Burrell. Caution comes out.
There's the caution. Yeah, you're just talking about it too, Zach. That lap traffic, if it gets in the way, it can get in the way. And Alan Hong, he just didn't know where to go. He didn't know, should I go high? Should I go low? I mean, he should have said on the radio before, hey, I'm going to go on the apron, or hey, I'm going to go high. But lap traffic didn't communicate properly, and it causes a big one. And a lot of cars are going to have their race completely ruined from that encounter.
The number 11 car of Alan Hong throwing a wrench, or maybe even an entire car, into the plans of those Clemson drivers, as well as the Clemson, the Alabama Huntsville, the St. Clair, the Ball State cars up in that high line, as phenomenal driving really from everybody in the field to avoid the big one happening, and even in great hands from, I think that was Jake Hall, who was completely sideways on the backstretch, somehow got that car pointed straight again, until some more contact in turns 3 and 4 down the road led with him facing the wall.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of cars got caught up, but as I said, a lot of cars also avoided. So it's gonna be interesting to see which cars are gonna have to pit for damage, and which cars are gonna lead the field here coming to start this next caution.
And it looks like here comes the field. Everybody's going to come down pit road, led by Jake Cummings and Wingate University. Single file, for the most part, nice and easy. But this is going to be a very critical race off of pit road. Don't speed. Hit your marks in your box. It'll be interesting to see if anybody elects to take tires, or if this is going to be a scheduled fuel stop.
Yeah, and let me say it right now. If a driver takes tires, they're making a mistake. You simply do not need to. So
I think later on in the race, right sides might be the call, but for the time being, no tires.
Yeah, maybe if someone takes tires, I'll guarantee you it's because they forgot to uncheck them. They basically forgot to say, hey, pit crew, I don't want tires, and they might accidentally get tires. But it looks like it's going to be a relatively clean pit stop for most of the field. A lot of smoke from the wheel spin coming out of the pit lane, but yeah, it's going to be nice and clean for them.
A few drivers actually stayed out. Looks like Veleke and Logan Smith from Auburn staying out for the time being, as well as Zach Tallman from PCT. Jason Wallet, one of those cars to stay out as well for Drexel, former Daytona 250 champ, trying to reclaim his crown at the top of the sport. But this is going to be an interesting call for these two Auburn drivers who stayed out. But we are going to take a quick look at the replay of the incident that brought out our second caution of the night. So there you see everybody coming up on the 11 of Alan Hong. Hong looks like he was going to stay to the middle, but elects to go to the top at the last minute. Actually sends Stockner into the wall. The 98 turns sideways, hard hit into Hong, knocks his bumper off. And Jake Hall somehow keeps that car straight. But as we're going to see coming back into turns 3 and 4, there's a second incident that unfolds, which is the incident that actually brought out the caution. And it does involve the 98. Oh, he makes contact with the 19 of Ricky Paz, and then collects both of his Clemson teammates, Nick Stockner and Andrew Burrell. So disaster unfolding for Clemson in the span of less than a mile.
Yeah, what probably happened there is Jake Hall had some damage from that first contact, and he's trying to control it down the straight, and he just couldn't get it 100% sorted out. So he slightly comes down the 19 car of Ricky Paz and spun them both. As you said, it collected the 124 and the 123 car, and that's what brought out the caution. And you're also talking about the Auburn cars not coming into pits. This is an interesting strategy choice because, as I said earlier, caution comes out anywhere 20 to 30. I'd probably take it. Now, rest assured, you only have to make one more pit stop. But maybe these Auburn cars are thinking, well, if we stay at this pace and we fuel save enough during these cautions, maybe this is a one-stop race. So that maybe they pit at lap 50 and they only do one pit stop, which could be a very viable strategy here.
Well, the fact that they're going to be out in the lead is going to throw a major wrench in that plan. These two drivers are going to be at the front of their respective packs. They're going to be burning a lot more fuel. So that one-stop strategy may not work, and you're going to have to really be pushing and banking on cautions to make that work. But I'm wondering if maybe these two came down pit road to top off whenever that first caution came out towards the beginning of the race. So they had relatively full fuel tanks, use your words, compared to the rest of the field. And if so, this might be a really, really interesting call, especially if we get a caution in about 20, 30 laps or so.
You know what? I think you're right on that, because since they now have this caution and that caution before they pit, this strategy of pitting on lap 10 that I kind of down talked earlier might work if they get enough cautions, because they could extend this fuel tank out to around lap 60, which is when all these other drivers are going to come in for their second pit stop. And if they're able to do that, we'll be in a good position.
Pace car makes the hard left onto pit road. It's an Auburn front row as they're going to hit the Geico restart zone. Barney throws the green, says send it. We're back to racing at Daytona. And a perfectly executed strategy for both of those Auburn drivers, as those two are going to go nose to tail at the bottom line. But look who's leading that top line. It's Jason Wallet, who has finally found himself at the front of the field. He's being pushed by the Niner car of Clint Halterman and UNC Charlotte, as we're going to finish lap number 1 after this restart. Lap 28, now 29 of 100 complete.
Yeah, and it looks like Jason Wall and Clint Halterman are going to try to link up here and give that outside line the momentum it needs to clear those Auburn University cars. And I wouldn't be surprised if they learned from earlier. It's all that once you got the gap on the inside, you take it. So let's see what they decide to do here once they get that run.
Yeah, very planned from both of those drivers, Smith and Valecki, to go nose to tail there. They've got the 71 of Zach Tallman from the Penn College of Technology just behind them. He's actually to the inside of his teammate, Michael Sidor, in that number 15 car. Edward Sanchez, Baruch College, right behind them. And then Jake Cummings missing his teammate, as actually, I believe that is Valecki, who Smith, who dives to the inside. I'm wondering if he maybe had some help from his teammate.
Yeah, that was an interesting move, but as you talked about it, Jake Cummings is now alone here at the front of this field. They all basically have teammates, right? You see Michael Sidor, Penn College, has his teammate. The Auburn University, they have their teammate, but Jake Cummings left to the right, and there they go. Halterman and Wallet are going to take that inside line as we were talking about, because they know that if you have the gap low, you got to take it, because that outside line is really hard to get the momentum going.
And look at the run they gave Valecki at the front. They've cleared that front pack by about 4 or 5 car lengths, but give it about a half a straightaway, and you're going to see Zach Tallman leading that inside line to a charge. As actually, I stand corrected. These guys are still pulling away at the front. That is unbelievable.
If these 3 cars are able to pull away, that is huge for those 3 cars, because let me tell you right now that if 3 cars go away, I talked about this earlier, to 4 cars is the quickest you can have in a line in iRacing, especially if they're going too wide. And as we're talking about this, never mind, we're liars, because here comes Zachary Tallman and Michael Sidor, the 2 teammates, nearly connect there. Very, very, very bold move from Zachary Tallman to take the take the top line, trying to connect with his teammate. But in doing so, he just checked up the entire low line. And as you see, that inside line has now gotten 6 car lengths ahead.
Yeah, very bold move from Tallman. He wanted to link up with his teammate Sidor at the top, but the momentum difference was so great that it checked up that entire top line and sent them way backwards. But I'm now looking at that bottom line. There's some heavy hitters that are coming up through the ranks again. Muhammad Alif just behind Drew Williams. That's Charles Wembley. We're talking about him for the first time this race, moving up in front to that top line. But his draft is going to get taken away by Drew Williams and Clemson, as Williams is going to be the new line leader up top. He's got some fantastic support, and Charles Wembley just behind them, as we once again have a 2-wide race on our hands. Clint Halterman now going to join the show. Actually, the entire bottom line has just moved up in front of the leader there, Williams. That is Cummings, Sanchez, and out in front is Clint Halterman. And now sole leadership goes to that top line here on lap 33, officially 1/3 of the way complete in this race.
Yeah, and if you're that inside line, Jason Wallet, believe that's the 62 car, and Muhammad Alif, you're going to feel helpless when that happens. All the cars are jumping outside. You have no room to jump, and you just have to hope and pray that that inside line that you're a part of can keep its momentum and keep its run.
Andrew Williams is slicing and dicing his way through this field right now. He and Wembley both have jumped down to the lead, that bottom line, and now they've got the momentum shift. That top line still out in front for the time being, but here comes the bottom, led by Williams. He's only got a couple car lengths to go until we have another new leader here at Daytona.
Yeah, as you mentioned, looks like Charles Wembley and Andrew Williams are going to connect. They're working very well together right now. And even behind them, Jason Wallet, who we know is very good around here. If they can get a 3-car, kind of like a ping pong battle going there with Charles Wembley, what you want to do is you're Jason Watt, you push Charles into the 1-2-3 car Williams. You can get a lot of speed and a lot of momentum and try to fight back against Clint Halterman and Edward Sanchez there up top.
Not exactly side by side for the lead, but this battle is still far from over. Drew Williams and Clemson University leading that bottom line. Clint Halterman and UNC Charlotte in the Norm the Niner car leading that top line. As there you see Logan Smith came down pit road for possibly an unscheduled stop. I'm wondering if there was possibly a race start infraction where he had to serve a drive-through penalty, because that was, if that was an unscheduled stop, that was a very, very abrupt unscheduled stop.
Yeah, you might be right. That's a good bet, because they're wrecking. Matthew Burton gets into a leaf behind. Oh no.
Oh, and
This
think
might bring out a
everybody
caution.
saves it. We stay green. Edwin Onofre taking the shortcut through pit road.
Oh no.
What phenomenal hands everybody in the field had to avoid that wreck. My
You said
goodness.
that though. Edwin Onofre is going to get a speeding through the pit lane penalty for that. Because he crossed the inside of that green code in pit lane, he's now going to have to come in and serve a drive-through. So
Yes,
it kept him out of a wreck, but it's gonna hurt his race.
In real life NASCAR, you can cut through pit lane and speed in order to avoid a wreck, or if you get forced down, but that is not the case in iRacing. If you go down pit road and you break speed limit for any reason, or if you don't take the proper entry or exit, you are going to get a drive-through penalty. So Onofre will have to serve that in the next 3 laps, and he was now at risk of going at least 1 lap down off of that alone. But now 2 completely separate packs have formed. This is the second pack on track from, I believe, about 13th on back. The lead pack right now led by Clint Halterman and Jake Cummings. So no change up there for the time being, but it looks like this second pack is going to try and get themselves resolved. Single file, Muhammad Alif not really doing a solid job of leading that bottom line, as they're all going to lose out on a ton of positions. But we're going to take a look at the replay that almost brought out our 3rd caution of the race.
Yeah, the second pack.
Says producer Christian.
Yeah, the second pack seems to have fallen 2.4 seconds behind this lead pack. And if I'm part of that second pack, if I'm one of those cars, one of those Ball State cars of Ben or Andrew, I am praying for a caution because you do not want to be that far behind the lead pack because you always want to be in contention for the lead.
And especially side by side too. We've seen, you know, you're looking at the back of this pack. These cars are side by side. They're doing nothing but slowing each other down. That lead pack is all single file, so they're going to be one cohesive unit. They have a ton of momentum on their side, and they're going to use that draft to eventually pull away from the second pack, which you see that gap continuing to grow every time the cameras change. But as long as this second pack stays side by side, as long as those two cars in that middle lane stay there, this pack is going to be slower than the leaders, and they're going to keep losing time.
And it's really funny what this top pack is doing. They're staying single file, but on the outside line. It seems to be that all these drivers have thought this outside line is better. It's where I want to be. And they have completely ditched the inside line, even though it's a shorter way around the track. So very interesting strategy that Clint Halterman and Edward Sanchez have started out front.
And I wish I had like the Fox cutaway car or something where we could demonstrate this, but the top lane is actually the fastest line around Daytona when you're single file. And the way that works is it's all about the air moving around the car. When you're up against the wall, the air that's at the front of the car has to go somewhere. It's going to go around it. It's going to go over it. So when you're very close to that wall, that air that's moving to the right side of the car actually makes a high pressure cushion that's going to keep you off the wall, but it's also going to push your car along just a little bit faster. So when you ride about a half a lane away from the wall, you're actually getting a little bit of a speed boost just from the aerodynamics of the car. It's really interesting how that works. As we're going to go side by side, there you see the two packs. Clint Halterman, UNC Charlotte, Edward Sanchez, Jake Cummings leading that third pack. They're currently scored 1, 2, 3, but a gaggle of Ball State cars leading that second pack at the moment.
Yeah, they found each other. It looks like that's Andrew, Ben, and Kelton. They've all connected up in that second pack, and they've gone single file. So those three are going to link up, and they're going to want to catch up to that front pack, and they're going to do everything in their power that they can. And Andrew and Kelton are going to give Ben a bunch of big bumps here to just try to claw back at that big lead that first gap has gotten.
Stagey, Quick, Neller. I think I saw Ricky Paz. Yeah, Ricky Paz in the front of that pack as well, and then Nick Stockner. But yeah, you said it. Now that they've got single file, especially now that you've got teammates leading that pack, they're gonna catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does appear to be that the gap from Ben, who's first in the second pack, to Zachary Tallman, who's last in the first pack, is gotten only down to 1.6 seconds. So it looks like this momentum is starting to work. And let me say one other thing. When this backpack catches that front pack, or if they do, they will have so much momentum that they will be able to slingshot down the inside of that front pack or around the outside of that front pack, and they'll be able to make a pretty decent push to only be probably 6 car lengths down from the lead.
And as long as this stays green, they're going to keep catching up as you see that gap coming down even in real time. But a caution certainly wouldn't hurt either, as that would do most of the hard work for them pretty instantaneously.
Yeah, and especially if you're one of those Auburn cars, you're really hoping for a caution right about now to extend the life of that fuel tank before they have to come in and pit.
We are about 20 laps into this fuel run, so these drivers that last came and pitted on lap, what was it, 20, 24, 25-ish?
I believe so, yeah.
Somewhere around then. They're about halfway through their fuel run, so already, now that the damage mitigation has been done, you've got yourself settled in line, you've had your scary, slippery moment of the run, that shift, that mentality shift is now going to focus on that next run of pit stops. Where are your teammates? Are you going to pit with them? How are you going to pit with them? When do you want to pit as well? Do you want to try to run the tank as dry as you can? Or do you want to possibly play some fuel games with a faster pit stop and maybe not top off and maybe not try to fill up an empty tank, but come in when you still have a few more gallons, just so you can spend less time on pit road and bank on a caution later on in the race.
And as you saw there, that front pack had to thread the needle between the 121 car of Burrow and the 409 car of Peyton DeLong. Both cars decided to let the leaders by 121. Oh, and there's a caution. What has happened?
Oh,
and it looks like it happened to the back line.
Turn 2, there's a car in the wall facing backwards. Not sure who it was. We're going to take a look at the replay. That's the 409 of Peyton DeLong from Penn State facing backwards in turns number 1 and 2 as that car is going to get towed to pit road. That thing is junked.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. That lapped traffic might have caused another wreck here today, because if the lap traffic's being unpredictable, I mean, there's really nothing you can do about that as someone on the lead lap. But I am really interested to see what happens there, because even though that happened to the second pack, if you're part of that second pack, you are thankful that that happened, because now that is going to bring you back to that front pack, and you have a fight for the win now.
And now you have an opportunity to come down pit road, fuel up, and maybe jump a few spots in the battle on pit road.
Yeah, and if you were able to not pit at all this entire race, you might be able to pit now. If you're able to hold out the fuel that long and maybe even take it to the end of the race. I don't know, probably not, but looks like we're gonna get a replay here, so let's take a look at that.
Now we're going to be watching that 409 Penn State car at the top of 3 wide right there with, I believe that's Zach Tallman and Trevor Rizzo. You see Tallman making contact with DeLong there, and Tallman losing control, spinning down into the 06 of Rizzo. And what a narrow miss right there for, I believe that was Dylan Godinez, who almost caught the front bumper of that Penn State car at full speed. That could have been disastrous for him.
Yeah, that was crazy. It looked like just miscommunication between Tallman and DeLong there of where they were gonna go to pass them, and one car had more speed than the other car, and here they come down pit road. They're opting to take the pit stop. Now, Zach, I do not know about this strategy, because they most likely will not be able to take this tank of fuel to the end of the race, and we know that these cars have already made one pit stop.
Well, it's more of a peace of mind thing, knowing that you have the full tank of fuel. You're pushing that last pit stop further on back in the race. So that's something that's, you're going to have to worry about that later on in the race. It's more of a, I don't want to deal with this right now kind of problem. Yeah. And I wish there was more of a strategy call behind it, but having a full tank of fuel always feels really good, especially at especially approaching the halfway point of this race. Now you know that you've got one more stop until the end, whereas I think on that last strategy, it would have taken 2 more stops. So this fuel stop was going to happen no matter what. But from here on out, if you can save a little bit of fuel, you actually might be able to make it on one tank, or make it on this tank.
Yeah, depending on how many cautions we get.
Yeah.
This, if they're able to fuel save, chuck the car into 5th gear, hold the clutch down, maybe, just maybe. But as you talked about, those cars were going to have to pit on lap 65-ish anyways. So you're right. What they did is they pushed that back 20 laps. So now if a caution were to come, lap 80, 90, right, they would be able to pit under that caution, whereas if they didn't come into pit, they would have had to pit at 60 and miss out on that yellow flag pit stop.
Yep, I'm looking at my crew chief's notes here, and I've got green lights all the way around. I think that was the correct call, as it looks like Drew Williams has won the race off of pit road. Sky Shrek right behind him, actually. Good to see her in the top 10. She's had a quiet day for Oklahoma University Esports, but she finally having a really good day. Been on the short end of some incidents in the past couple races, really all season. But she will be restarting as the leader on that outside line. And actually, this might get pretty dangerous for her, actually, as we got 2 Clemson cars, NC State nose to tail on that bottom lane.
Yeah, and we know that Sky Shrek is very, very aggressive. So I'm curious to see how she's going to take this restart, if she's going to dive down the inside immediately, or rather, if she tries to get that outside line going there with Ryan Whitlock and Clint Halterman. And it also does appear that the number 71 car, Zach Tallman, has been given an EOL penalty for that last contact. So the stewards are deeming that to be his fault.
Yep, insult to injury there for the 71 is you saw that car getting towed back to pit road already once this race. But
yeah, at that point, I shut off my rig.
The toe of shame back to pit road to get it fixed, but you're also going to get the strike in the end of line if you happen to come back out on track, which was bound to happen anyway. But we are squaring up and getting ready to go back to racing. Lap 48 of 100 in tonight's Freedom 250 from Daytona International Speedway, celebrating the great American pastime of going real fast and turning real left. Brought to you by Flotic.net, bringing you all the picture that you see tonight and beyond. Is the leader right now, Drew Williams, in that inside line, the control car as they're coming to the restart. Sky Shrek to his outside, Nick Stockner just behind them in row number 2. That car on the outside, Ryan Whitlock from Alabama Huntsville, and then row number 3, Matt Nordberg and Clint Halterman as the pace car makes the hard left onto pit road. Benny's going to go park it. Barney, the flag man's got the green flag in hand. Drew hits the restart zone. Barney says send it, and we are back to racing here at Daytona. A phenomenal restart from those OWR cars on the inside line. 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Williams, Stockner, Nordberg. They've cleared that top line by about 4.5 cars, bringing Edward Sanchez and Jason Wallet with them. Sky Shrek, the leader on that high line. She's got Ryan Whitlock in support at the moment from Alabama Huntsville as they're going to try to claw their way back up to the front. Now, we know that the inside line has the momentum and the advantage on these initial short runs after race restarts, but so look for that high line to come clawing back in a couple of laps here.
Yeah, and you talk about it, that outside line, even though if it might not be good off the restart, you've got to hold your ground, hold your position, and hope that outside line can, get those top 2 cars in that line pushing, and you can get some real momentum. But it does appear that some cars further down to the field are starting to bail off that top line. They're starting to not believe anymore. Oh, never mind. I was completely stand corrected. 3 cars just dived right up to the top line, and they're going to say, all right, thank you, Sky, for bringing it up here, but we can take it from here. Oh, contact.
And Sky Shrek tried to make the move to the inside, but Jason Wallet was there as she punted the 76 out of the way, and that is going to leave the 43 car hung out to dry, dropping through the middle of the field. Unfortunate mistake there for Shrek. She was having such a good day, but she's going to get relegated back to the back of this bottom lane. Is going to find a spot to slot in and try to restart her advance towards the front. But what a move from Edward Sanchez and Baruch College. They jumped to the outside about a lap and a half, or about a lap ago, as we got cars spinning in front of us. We got a wreck.
Oh, no.
Comes out, and it's the big one at Daytona.
Oh,
and
Kellen,
it's the entire
Andrew.
field.
Oh, a lot of cars come up in that. Godinez, Sidor.
Williams.
So many big names.
Is that Stagey involved as well?
Yeah, I think the Leaf might have been involved too. My pick. No.
Oh, no.
I want to take a quick look back at this. See if I can get you guys some more cars involved. It looks like Clint Halterman was the initial one to start that. Sliding across nearly into pit lane there. Let's see. Yeah, Andrew makes contact a little bit. Kellen gets collected. Godinez gets collected. A Leaf slides his way through. Crazily. Oh, I can't wait to see the replay on that. Matthew Burton gets collected. The 86 car gets collected. This is that is the big one, and this is detrimental to a lot of our drivers' races.
Well, there it is, folks. Scratch off the free space on your Daytona 250 bingo card. The big one happens on lap 51 of 100. We made it through half the race before it happened, but we are going to take a look at the replay of the crash that brought out our most recent caution. And I think we're going to see pit road become a very busy place for cars that picked up damage during that incident. So this actually started at the front of the field. There you see Williams leading the high line. He actually gets turned by his teammate, Nick Stockner, and the rest of the field piles in behind them. Look at a Leaf. Holy cow, how did he make it through? I don't think he lifted.
He pulled the Lightning McQueen. He did it. And yeah, teammates making contact. It's not what you want to see. I did it to a teammate couple weeks back, and it gets messy there. You know, it creates tension.
We got to get a replay of the onboard from Muhammad Alif as he rockets his way through that crash. But a lot of very strong cars involved. The big one right there, Drew Williams, the leader of that top line, collected Andrew Stagey as well. There's our two picks right there, sitting on pit road with damage. So chalk that one up as a score in the commentator's curse box.
Yeah, that might have been our fault, but you know what? We picked our picks, and Alif just drove straight through the pit lane there for some reason. You guys couldn't see it, but he just drove straight through. He didn't stop or anything. He just said, you know, I just feel like driving through the pit lane. I don't know what he was doing there, but we are gonna get that onboard from Alif. Very excited to see this.
Yeah, at least 10 different cars caught up in that incident. A quarter of the field taken out in the big one. And we knew it was coming. The big one happens at Daytona. It was just a matter of when. But now we're riding on board with Alif. Hang on, folks. This is a wild ride. Wow.
Oh,
someone clipped that.
Yeah, you see his teammate Andrew go straight up the field. Alif's like, and goes straight through. That is crazy. I couldn't hear it. I do not think he lifted.
Unbelievable save from Alif. That might be one of the highlights of the season right there. Incredible handiwork from Alif to get through that wreck, and that has rocketed him up into the 4th position. Shades of Earnhardt, I might even say.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't pull the Lightning McQueen and go up to a turned over car and jump on top of it. And here we go,
so
on
riding
board
in the helmet
with the wheel.
Riding in the helmet cam in slow-mo. There you see the chaos unfolding. And just in front of him, the 808 actually picked up off the ground, and Alif sawing at that wheel, taking every gap he can. Yeah, that's it. That's the move of the season right there, folks. That is not going to get topped. Incredible.
It's kind of like when you're driving in Forza Horizon and you're going through that forest and you're just trying to dodge those trees and you're praying and you're weaving and you're sawing at that wheel. That's exactly what that just looked like there. Great move there from him.
If we get the opportunity to interview him after the race, I want to talk to him about that, because iRacing, if you're watching, there's your highlight reel right there.
Yeah. Somebody has to submit that. Yeah, somebody definitely has to. I'm sure he will. I'll have a talk with him about that. But after the big one, as it stands, your top 10 will be Matthew Nordberg, Charles Wimbley, Benjamin Neller, CL Smith, Muhammad Alif, Edward Sanchez, Ricky Paz, Matthew Burton, Ethan Decatur, and Michael Seidorf. So as we heard, a fair amount of big names. The Muhammad Alif and Matthew Burton are currently running top 10 in their championship, but also, some sleeper picks. Ricky Paz, I mentioned, my dark horse pick for after the big one strikes. Also, we have names like Benjamin Neller and Ethan Decatur as well. So it's going to be a very interesting battle up at the front here.
As the field comes down the first front stretch, the pace car makes the hard left on the pit road. Matt Nordberg is the control car. He hits the Geico restart zone. Barney throws the green, says send it, and we're back to racing at Daytona. And there you see Logan Smith and Auburn University pushing Charles Wembley and Guilford College all the way up to the point. In fact, that high line is going to get 4, maybe even 5 cars clear of that low line before they even get to turn 3. Unbelievable restart from that top lane.
Yeah, it seems to be, if I'm remember correctly, Matthew Nordberg is the one that led that bottom lane. So Matthew Nordberg got a great jump, but it was the 2 Ball State cars behind him, matter of fact. Oh, wait, no, Matthew Nordberg has fallen out. I do stand corrected there. So, yeah, you're right. Just that outside lane got a great jump and completely swallowed that inside lane.
Traffic coming up again. It's the 409 of Peyton DuLong. He is going to elect the safe option and stick to that high lane, let the rest of the field go around him. He was getting up to speed coming out of pit road as the cars took to the green flag. So he is going to go another lap down, but for the time being, it is Charles Wembley at the point of the field. Edward Sanchez, my dark horse pick, just behind him, delivering a big shot to the back bumper of that Guilford College car in the corner. The gloves are starting to come off, folks. We've seen the aggression level high all race. These drivers know what it means to win the Daytona 250 championship. There's that prestigious title on the line. There's a spot in the Flexware College Cup Series playoffs. There's a ton of points for both you and your school up for grabs as well by winning this race, as it looks like that 37 and the 26 are going to lock bumpers down the backstretch, and look at the tow they've got dragging behind them. That high line 4, looking at 5 possibly cars cleared now. Excuse me. As Jason Wallet makes the jump down to the low lane. That might have been just strategic to try and break up those 2 Auburn cars.
Yeah, you really, when a line like this has momentum, there's 2 things you can do. Either go to it or just hope and just try to get that low line some momentum. Try to see if you can push. Give the cars ahead as much speed as possible. But if you're 4 or 5 cars deep in a line, you're really hopeless, because pushing 4 or 5 cars deep is not the move around super speedways. So at that point, you just have to hope that the cars ahead of you can get that momentum. But it looks like most of these drivers have taken to my first option, which is completely abandon the bottom line and try to get top as quickly as possible.
And as it looks like that top line has assembled single file, I believe it is a perfect time to do a little crank it up here. We're going to let these naturally aspirated giant V8 motors do the talking as they rip full roar around Daytona. We're going to go CIL full throttle, full send, crank it up. working on lap 63 of 100 here in tonight's Freedom 250 from Daytona International Speedway, celebrating the great American pastime of going real fast and turning real left. Brought to you by Flotic.net, bringing you all the picture you see tonight and beyond, as we took about a lap around Daytona International Speedway in the draft with Ethan Decatur in that 00 Valparaiso University car. You know, we talked about at the top of the show how Ricky Paz would be the dark horse from Valpo, but Ethan Decatur really pulling his weight tonight. He's in the top 3, and I believe Paz now sitting in the 11th spot in line, getting ready to crack inside the top 10. So Valpo having a very, very good time tonight, as there you see single file all the way from first back until about, let's say, 17th or 18th place. I think that's Jake Cummings tailing that line at the moment. But we have a breakaway at the front of the field. These cars at the front in that lead pack, that second pack right now, being led by, I can't quite tell who that is.
I believe that's Carmine. So yeah, it looks like Carmine Caruso and a Leaf down in 13th and 14th, or 14th and 15th, sorry, are leading that second pack and trying their best to catch up to that front field. They're only a second behind right now, and they are opting for the inside line, which does appear to be slowly gaining on them, actually.
Yeah, they're actually gaining on them pretty quickly.
This could be really interesting, especially because they're going to have that momentum, and if they can even get a draft from the back car in that front line, Ryan Whitlock, that'll slingshot them around, and as I talked about earlier, you can catch up a decently amount just off a small slingshot like that.
Well, folks, as we ride on board with Caruso, you see the sun has gone down at Daytona. We're going to finish this race under the lights. We are officially night racing at Daytona, and what a beautiful sight to see. The sunset over the grandstands at Daytona, 150,000 strong, with these drivers duking it out for the Daytona 250 championship. As there you see Paz makes the move to the low line, blocks Caruso, an aggressive block right there, as Nordberg's going to come with them. And now we have a charge on the low line that is going to try and take the lead away from that top line. And they are coming quickly with a head of steam.
Yeah, and just behind them, Leaf and Halterman have opted. You guys all dropped to the low line. I'm going to go high. And so did Carmine Caruso, just jumps up there. And now they're going to see if they can get that top line some momentum. And on that low line now, who were running 5 and 6, Andrew Stagey and Daniel Nanny have also opted to drop down to that low line, try to kill the momentum. So let's see. This will be interesting. See if a Leaf can try to connect up and form a mini wall of ball here, and see if they can get something going.
Lap traffic of Drew Williams. Not often we get to say that in the CIL coming up. He's going to actually elect for the bottom, so he's going to make those Ball State drivers go the long way around, 3 wide, really sketchy. But also look at those 2 Auburn drivers in Valecki and Smith have linked up now. And there it goes. A Leaf has made the move down to the bottom. Now here comes Caruso with him, and Caruso is going to lead that line. We got a car in the wall. Matt Norton very slow on track, wondering what happened there. Maybe somebody got a piece of the wall. Some suspension damage from Nordberg. That car was not turning left at all, so he's going to try and limp it back to pit road. We stay green.
Yeah, and this Carmine Caruso, a Leaf, and Andrew, they're going to try to get some momentum here. They're going to try to see if they can get this low line back up to fighting with Charles Wimbley and Edward Sanchez up top. It looks like they are starting to do it. Oh, a big bump there from a Leaf is going to push Caruso a little bit loose. And you know what I bet they're thinking right now? I bet Daniel, Andrew, and a Leaf are probably like, can't this guy get out of our way so we can have the lead here? But Carmine Caruso has made the smart choice to put himself in front of those cars and lead the charge of this low line.
Well, in order to lead the pack, you've got to be able to take those shots from behind. That second car is going to do everything they can to get to your bumper and literally push you down the straightaways, as we see the 26 of Sanchez doing exactly that to the 37 of Wembley. But being the line leader isn't necessarily as easy as it looks. it's not just full throttle, it's managing your position on track relative to the car behind you, making sure that you're lined up, making sure that you can make these moves and put yourself in position to defend if needed, but also dragging the brake just a hair whenever you come out of the corners, because the cars behind you in the draft are going to get a huge run. You want to make sure to pop that air bubble that you get behind your car in the draft so that they can suck up behind you and push you down the straightaway. So it's a very hard job to do. As there we see a car in the wall. I think that was Decatur who kissed the wall in the middle of a tri-oval, as these leaders are going to come up on some more lap traffic. But Charles Wembley, still the Pied Piper at the moment, in command of this race, as we now have 31 laps remaining.
And they are approaching another lap traffic here. And you might have heard me go like that ooh sound. The 076 and Matthew Nordberg was throwing a wrench into that outside line by making a quick turk up off of the apex. But they were able to get it sorted out, and now this low line really wants to be cruising here. And they even have Sky Shrek, another very strong driver, behind them to kind of form that 5-car low line. And I guess let's just see who wins, outside or inside.
Yeah, they're going to need some more help, though. That 5 strong isn't going to do much against, what is that, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 car train on the high side. They're outnumbered by a factor of 2, almost 3. So the momentum right now is going to go to the high line. They've got the faster way around the track, but the shorter line goes to that low line. So it's interesting to see how that is going to change now as some lap traffic comes into the mix. Drew Williams trying to slot in behind the field to catch the draft, does so unsuccessfully. We'll see how Andrew Burrell does, but I'm sure some of these leaders or some of those guys on that bottom lane are really hoping to catch that lap traffic and get them in their tow, because not a lot of drivers electing that bottom line, and it's now gone from 5 to 4 as Carmine Caruso jumping up to that high side as well.
Yeah, Caruso has opted to abandon that low line. However, that has released the 12 car, the very strong 12 car of R. Muhammad Alif, who had that amazing accident avoidance we saw earlier. And I already know, you already know, he wants something to get started here. And we're going to see a 3-car push. Daniel Nanny, Andrew Siege, and R. Muhammad Alif are 100% connected here. And I'm going to be honest with you, Zach, that's a force to be reckoned with right there.
And if I'm one of these drivers at the front of the field, I'm definitely thinking about my pit stop. The pit window is now officially open. You can make it to the end on fuel. And these drivers, especially the ones that have been leading the pack, are really running on fumes at the moment. So in the next about 5-10 laps, expect the field to come down pit road. In fact, I'm seeing some drivers getting on the mics. I've been seeing some drivers getting on the mics over the past couple laps, trying to synchronize their pit stops.
Yeah, they did. Remember, we go back, they did come in at lap 47. So you add 40 to that, you're looking at pitting around 87. And you know these drivers are going to hold out as long as they can to try to get that yellow flag pit stop. But sometimes you just can't hold out any longer and you have to dive down to the pits. But another good thing for most of these drivers is that they have been in the draft for a good amount of the race, and that they have been able to save fuel that way. So they're going to be able to stay out a little bit longer than cars like Charles Wembley or Alif have been leading for most of it.
And one big thing to consider when you're pitting under green is you want to have help. You don't want to come in by yourself, because then you're going to lose the draft. You're going to be extremely slow. And when the field catches up to you again, you're going to go a lap down because you're not going to get any help. You want to come down with your teammates. You want to come down with the guys that are in your line, with people that you trust. It's the same thing we've been saying all night. Strength comes in numbers, and you want to have a nice sized group of people coming down pit road. Now, you don't want too many, because pit road under green flag conditions can be an extremely busy, very stressful place. So if you've got pretty much the entire field coming down pit road all at once, there's going to be some chaos that happens. But I think these drivers definitely in the next about 10 laps or so are going to come down pit road for their final, hopefully final stop of the race.
And it does appear that 2 lapped cars have joined the inside line there. It looks like the 519 of Zach DeWale and the 81 of Ryan Whitlock thrown a wrench, just like Carmine Caruso did, into the Ball State plans. But it seems to be working, as Zach DeWale and Whitlock are getting a very nice run here.
I was gonna say not so fast, my friend. That actually played really heavily into the favor of those Ball State drivers. They were about 5 or 6 car lengths off the lead, and now thanks to that draft and the line leading from those 2 lap cars, that has sucked Leaf, Staggy, and Nanny up to the front to potentially challenge for the lead. Charles Wembley is the leader still at the moment. Those 2 cars leading the bottom of the those 2 cars leading that bottom lane are, if not lap down, at risk of going a lap down. So they're racing to stay on the lead lap, but everybody else around them is racing for the win, as we are now officially 25 laps away from crowning a new Daytona 250 champion.
Yeah, I hate to toot my own horn here, but Andrew Staggy, my pick of who I thought might win this race, is in that pack of the inside line that's looking to have momentum. And he's currently running in P6. So I don't know. Maybe he could get some bump from his teammates, and maybe he could take the crown here.
Hey, my dark horse pick, Edward Sanchez, P2 right now,
Good
pushing the world out of Charles Wembley right now, as they got a really nice run coming out of turn 2, but that's going to allow the 00 of Decatur to get right back up to him, and he's got company with the 62 of Velecki as well. And Decatur into the wall.
Ooh.
And he's going to get hung out to dry.
Oh, no. We were just talking about how good of a race Decatur. Oh, and Striker goes around. Halterman got into her.
Collect Halterman.
Oh, no. Another crash. The caution has not been thrown yet. Ladies and gentlemen.
We stay green.
They are green. We are staying green. Ladies and gentlemen, Carmine Caruso, Sky Shrek, Clint Halterman have all been bumped all the way down the path.
Why is there not a caution for that?
And there's a lot of yelling over the team radios right now.
Why was there not a caution? What?
There it is. There it is. Caution has come out.
The caution finally comes out. Race control, the automated race control from iRacing, really caught sleeping on that one, as I'm really not sure what happened.
That is
there.
interesting.
I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, iRacing was just like, I mean, they were just caught just standing there, just gazing off, watching the action. They're like, oh crap, I have to do something now, you know? So it looks like, I don't know if that was iRacing or our own personal admins that threw that, but iRacing, come on. I am excited to see the replay though, because we know that it started initially with Sky Shrek and Halterman, but I believe some other cars, got collected there.
Well, Decatur hit the outside wall, and he got sent to the back, and it was 3 wide between a lot of cars there for a little while, and then it was just not enough real estate for all of those cars to stay like they were, and it was chaos ensuing from there. But that is going to be caution number 4 of the event coming out late in the race, as we're going to take a look. There you see Decatur already falling back in the field. He's actually going to tag his team, or excuse me, it was Halterman making contact with Shrek. That sends both of them around. Side door collected, as well as Carmine Caruso. And I'm not sure why that wasn't a caution, because here comes the rest of the field at full speed, and Matt Nordberg, so unlucky once again, nowhere to go, runs almost full speed into the back of the 43.
Yeah, so iRacing does have the policy where if the drivers are able to keep their cars straight, they're not going to throw the caution, right? And I believe 2 or 3 sideway cars stops that gets the caution out. And since all the drivers kept their cars relatively straight, no caution was thrown, and that backpack approached at quick speeds. And I believe it was the 79 of Ben Neller and another car behind him that made good work to try and avoid all those stop cars on the track.
Yeah, for the most part, some really good hands by those drivers in that second pack to avoid the cars of Halterman and Shrek. But also good on them for doing exactly what they should have. They held the brakes, they became a predictable target, and then ultimately Matt Nordberg, nowhere to go for him as he gets caught up in the incident, and it looks like his night might be over, because that was a hard hit.
I didn't quite catch it. Did our cars come into the pit lane here for their last pit stop? I was not able to
I
see.
think a few of them might have because Austin DeLong has inherited the lead of the race.
Yeah, it does appear. It looks like Leaf, Andrew, Sanchez, Daniel, Wallet, Schulenberger, and I'm sure many others have come down pit lane. Perfectly timed caution for them, pitting around 47, and they're gonna reap the benefits of this caution, come into the pits, and be completely done with pit stops for the rest of this race.
Yes, this is the money stop. This next pit stop will be the one that makes or breaks your race. So some of these drivers electing to stay out, or they've already come in and had their service done earlier due to incidents. But these drivers, 21 laps now, 20 to go in the race when they come across the line. All bets are off now. This is the sprint to the end.
And I heard a little bit of chatter between the 37 of Wembley and the 26 of Sanchez about possibly Wembley leaving Sanchez out to dry. So I'm wondering, while we're waiting, if we can get a replay of right before the accident of Wembley and Sanchez, because it seems to be a little bit of discord there over the radio chat. So I don't know if they're going to be able to work together as well as they have been before the caution. They're going to be able to keep that up after the caution here and try to combat cars like a Leaf, Wallet, Nanny, and Schulenberger, who have been very strong this entire race.
Yeah, look at Wembley back there in row 3 as we look out the back of the pace car. A Leaf has worked his way into the control car position. He's in the lead for this restart, but he's got Edward Sanchez to his outside. A very strong car all day. Jason Wallet, a former Daytona 250 champ, right behind him. Daniel Nanny, first-time winner this season just a couple weeks ago at Pocono, also in row 2. And then Guilford College's Charles Wembley, very, very strong competitor all the way around, still looking for his maiden win in the Flexware College Cup Series on the inside of row 3. And then I believe that is Schulenberger to his outside as well. So a lot of strong cars inside the top 10 as we're going to come to this restart with 19 laps left in this race.
And after Schulenberger have landed, Flex, Gail Smith, so the two Auburn cars probably going to link up after the restart. And then just behind them, we have Jake Hall and Nick Stockner, Clemson cars that are probably also going to want to link up after the restart. So a lot of teammate pairings up in this top pack.
We talked about the 190-mile-an-hour chess match that these super speedway races are here in the Flexware College Cup Series. Well, now we are in the end game. The gloves are about to come off. These teammates are going to find each other because there is a Daytona 250 championship as well as a spot in the College Cup Series playoffs. Who's going to take it? 19 laps to decide the winner. A Leaf hits the gas in the restart zone. Barney throws the green, says send it, and we're back to racing at Daytona. Muhammad Alif trying to link up with his teammate Daniel Nanny, but Edward Sanchez playing spoiler right now as Alif had a good restart, ditches the low line and elects to go high, and that's where all the momentum is right now. As you see some contact at the bottom, great save from Jake Hall as he almost got turned. I believe that was Nick Stockner who was pushing him pretty aggressively, but phenomenal hands from Hall to keep that car straight as now the bottom lane comes back to life, led by Jason Wallet and Valecki as well. A couple of Clemson cars behind them. It's actually the two. It's a Tiger train on the bottom. Auburn, Clemson, Clemson, Auburn, as those two Auburn drivers going to look and try to get hooked up together once again. But it is the Alif show out front with Edward Sanchez behind him. Those two pretty content working with each other right now. Edward Sanchez has that bottom lane open, but elects to stay high as we have 18, now 17 to go in this race when they cross the line.
Yeah, as you mentioned, those two teammate pairings that we talked about before the caution, Auburn drivers, they have connected up. And as you see, it's really starting to give that inside line some momentum, which is really good for those drivers. But also the outside line has also very strong names. You know, Charles Wembley, Edward Sanchez, Nanny, Alif. I mean, this outside line, it could be making a run. We could see a pretty big gap formulated here.
Everywhere you look, there's more Ball State cars. There's Stagey and I believe Neller right behind him. Those two are linked up. They're separated by Brandon Schulenberger and Charles Wembley, as now here comes a huge momentum boost to that bottom lane. Jason Wallet leading that bottom line. He's got support with 4 Tiger cars behind him, as now Stockner makes the move to the middle. That maybe might have been an unplanned move, as Stockner is going to split the uprights and try to not get cycled to the back. He's going to look for any out he can, and he finds one almost at the tail end of that long line, and that little move absolutely killed the bottom line.
Yeah, Stockner, that fourth car in that inside line train, and it looks like Jake Hall also wants to try to abandon this inside line. This is really interesting. It looks like these drivers, they don't want to be there, which, I mean, if you can link up like that in the inside line, you can be quicker than the top. You just really have to nail it. It looks like they were starting to do it, but as you mentioned, Stockner left, momentum absolutely dead.
And all of that momentum and the advantage, we're going to swing the advantage bar to that high line once again, led by Muhammad Alif. Him, Sanchez, Nanny, and Wembley, those front 4 cars at the front of this pack doing phenomenal work to get this around him. And now Wembley bails on them. He moves to the bottom. Who is he going to bring with him? Nanny tried to come as well with Sanchez. Sanchez through the block, and now Stockner making moves at the back of the field as he moves up to that high line, going to try and use that momentum, as we now have a little bit of a breakaway for these 8 cars at the front of the field. But the rest of the pack is going to catch up with them very quickly. And those 2 Auburn cars are linked up once again, so look for them to be a threat in the next couple laps or so. 15 laps to go at Daytona.
Yeah, Wembley has been very good so far at knowing which line has momentum. Saw the inside line creeping up on him, and he saw the line creeping up, and he dove down, and he went for, Stockner's going to send it 3 wide. He's got a train with Whitlock and DeWale, 2 lapped cars. Wow.
Lapped cars out of contention for the win, but still teammates that he can use to his advantage, as Charles Wembley now gets a shot from the back as he comes up to block Stockner. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead with 14 laps to go at Daytona. It's Wembley out in front of that middle pack. This is the first time this race that we have seen 3 lines fully form, but it is Alif, Wembley, and Wallet leading their respective lines. 13 to go at the line.
This is absolutely, and as you see, Stockner was like, thank you, Whitlock. Thank you, DeWale. I'm going to drop back down the inside line. And now that middle line's going to lose all its momentum. And Andrew Stakey gets into the wall a little bit. That is going to kill that outside line's momentum, as you see him already falling back. But that middle line, I stand corrected once again, is going to keep its momentum even without Stockner. And it is full of Charles Wembley, who's led many laps of this race in 2 lapped cars. Very interesting line formations here.
And I'm interested to see how this is going to play out over these last few laps. Stockner, very aggressive pushing, is almost going to turn Wembley, but great save by Wembley to keep that car straight. He might have actually touched the apron a little bit, which is a death sentence here at Daytona, but that car is still upright and going straight. He is the line leader on the bottom. He's got 12 laps to try and catch Alif. This high line has the momentum. It has the speed. It's been the dominant line all day. But here comes Wembley. He gets a great push from Whitlock behind him. But now both of those line leaders are going to lock bumpers and try to make their way up to the front of the field. Stockner down below the yellow line. That is a no-no. 4 wide. Whitlock goes sideways. They were 4 wide, and how did they not wreck?
What? That is absolutely amazing hands there from Ryan Whitlock, who is not a lap down, and neither is Zach DeWale. That was my bad earlier for saying that, but that was crazy. They must have got it back somehow.
That little debacle has created a 5-car breakaway at the front of the field. Alif, Sanchez, Nanny, Schulenberger, and DeWale now in contention for the win. The rest of the drivers are going to have to work together if they want to catch up to the rest of the field. But Stockner, maybe race control, going to take a look at that incident where he went below the double yellow line. That is a no-no at the super speedways. You cannot You cannot go below the yellow line and advance your position. Now, the question was he forced below the yellow line, or did he do so under his own power? That is a question that race control, our live stewards, are going to answer.
And does appear to be that we're going to get on board of the 81 car of Ryan Whitlock. I'm really it's not going to happen just yet. But as we see now, the second pack has caught back up to this first pack. There's a huge slingshot. Stockton and Watt are going to form. Charles Wembley comes up, and they're going to try to get that outside line, some momentum. They're going to try and challenge our Muhammad Ali and Edward Sanchez for the win.
It's Stockner and Wallet on the high side right now, trying to get that line formed. Zach Wales gonna try and take that away. Stockner gets turned, and so does Schulenberger. The rest of the field is going to avoid them, but the caution is going to come out with 9 laps remaining in this event.
This has been such an exciting race so far. We've seen so many big moves, and we saw Stockner making very, very aggressive moves throughout this entire race. And I don't know if he got turned or it was an aggressive move, but it looks like it. Let me hear the radio. It looks like it caught up to him. Looks like his aggressive moves caught up to him at the end there.
Well, but that's the aggression that is going to win you these races. You've got to, yeah, we heard, I'm recalling a quote from Mike Joy during the broadcast tonight of the Daytona 500, where he said it's no longer give or take, it's all take and no give, especially with so little time left in this event, 9 laps. We're going to have about 6 laps remaining when we take the green flag. It's going to be all take, and it looks like Stockner might have taken just a bit too much, as well as some other drivers, but Ethan Decatur with a broken toe link on the front of that car. You see that right front completely detached. His night is unfortunately going to be done when he comes down pit road. Clint Halterman also picking up some pretty hefty damage on that Norm the Niner car for UNC Charlotte. Both of those are going to have to come down pit road and get their damage fixed before they come back out on track. And with as little time is left in the race as there is, I think their nights might be over.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Decatur, qualifying down in 27th, was able to get to that top 10, racing very well. But just like that, it's super speedways around NASCAR. Your race can end. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yep. It takes forever to get up to the front, but your race can go awry extremely quickly. We are going to take a look at the incident that brought out I believe our 6th caution of the evening on lap 91. So pay attention to Stockner. He's working with Wallet here, and then DeWale tries to jump up to the high line, and Stockner, I think that might have been a push from Wallet gone wrong.
Yeah.
That, pushing out of the corner where the car gets really light. Stockner gets turned and makes contact with, who was that underneath him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks like you're right, Zach. They did give the EOL to car 76, Jason Wallet, but I wonder if he might I wonder if he might come back and combat that to race control, saying, "Hey, this is a racing incident. It's just a bump gone wrong. This happens all the time. How am I getting an EOL for that?" So I wouldn't be surprised if I see a penalty appeal form for that, especially because it looked like Stockner was having a little bit of trouble receiving that bump from Wallet. So I don't know. It's going to be. I don't know 100% about the penalty, but probably a racing incident in my book.
It is ultimately the responsibility of the driver behind to, they're the one that's doing the pushing. They're in control of the pushing. There's really 2 taboos in, well, we'll say 3 taboos in super speedway racing. Number 1, you don't push in the corners, especially on corner exit when you're dropping off the banking and the cars get really light and really loose. If you deliver a shot to the back bumper, that's going to really upset the rear end of the car, and it's going to send it around, which is exactly what we saw happen to Nick Stockner in the 124. The second taboo is don't go underneath the double yellow line.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's illegal.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And the third taboo is never push the pusher. So if you're one of the front 2 cars in your pack, you could push on each other all you want, but if you're that third car, please, please, please stay off of the back bumper of the car in front of you if you can help, because if the two cars in front of you are linked up and you give a shot to the back bumper of the car in front of you, that's going to deliver all of that momentum to the lead car, and they may not be ready for that, and that may deliver too much momentum to that lead car, and it's going to turn them.
All right, and we're going to look back to that 4 wide. I believe it was Ryan Whitlock. Let's take a look at how he was able to keep his car straight. And we're on board with Jason Wallet here.
So Stockner with the run on Whitlock.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that,
got
Nick.
Blocked by Wembley, but Stockner still going underneath the double yellow line. They go 4 wide. Whitlock went completely sideways, somehow saved that car, and they all live to tell the tale. That is wild.
Getting blocked like that, it's unfortunate. You just have to lift. It really sucks, but what you cannot do is taboo number 2, as you said, you cannot go below that yellow line. But I would almost like to disagree a little bit there with your taboo 3. I think that as long as the third car in line hits the second car before the second car hits that lead car, you can get a very, very strong 3-car train all connected. It's happened to me. It happened to me a little bit in my second Daytona 500 race. It is very risky, and I would recommend that only trusted drivers do that. But if you're able to do it, that is a way to go around the track very quickly.
Super speedway racing takes a completely different skill set than the rest of the races in the year, and we are going to have 6 laps to determine who is the best super speedway racer tonight and who is going to lift the virtual Daytona 250 trophy. We're back to green flag racing at Daytona, 7-6 to go. And already Brandon Schulenberger working on the back bumper, that 26 of Sanchez. Those 2 Ball State cars, though, on the bottom lane, they got hooked up really, really quickly. Nanny and Elif together, and they've got Zach DeWale and Charles Wembley in tow behind them.
Yeah, and if I'm Andrew Stagey right now, the 88 car down there, and it looks like 8th, I'm wanting to get to Daniel as quick as possible. I'm wanting to be right behind Daniel and Elif, because at the end of this race, if I'm able to stay with them, I know that they're going to give me the win. So if I'm Andrew, I'm trying to push my way up there. Oh, and they're wrecking.
Jake Hall,
looks like Jake Hall,
Sanchez,
and
they're going to collect
the engine. No, my pick.
Caution number 7 comes out. And that's my pick as well. Oh, man.
Just like that, the night can go from good to absolutely terrible in the blink of your eye through no fault of your own. That is super speedway racing for you. And it looks like, I'm looking back at it, Jake Hall goes up and makes a very aggressive move to the top line, hits Sanchez, and from there, everyone else behind is just passengers.
And with that means we are officially going to go CIL overtime racing at Daytona.
And if I can say one more thing, looking back at it, Andrew Stagey does seem to clip the inside of that pit lane going that speed. He is unfortunately most likely going to have a drive-through penalty, which will undoubtedly ruin his race.
Edward Sanchez had such a strong car tonight. He was really in the top 5, at least the top 10 for the entire event, and caught up in that incident. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that incident that brought out our 7th and hopefully final caution of the night. It's the one that's going to send us into overtime. Schulenberger on his back bumper. There you see the 98 of Jake Hall underneath those 2, the 81 of Whitlock behind him. Hall, I guess, got loose off the back bumper. The 37 came up and smacked the 26, the 19 of Paz involved, the 62 of Valecki as well. Clint Halterman doing a good job of getting that car slowed down and not collecting himself in that incident as well.
Yeah, and the 79 of Benjamin Neller, who's been having to avoid a lot of wrecks here, also avoided that up into P7 at the moment. So sometimes wrecks can absolutely ruin your race, but sometimes wrecks can be just what you need to get back into that top 10 and be in contention for the win.
A lot of really good cars on pit road out of the race. Halterman, Quick, Cummings, Williams, a lot of really good cars out of this race tonight.
Yep, and unsurprisingly, Race Control is going to give that EOL and strike to car 98, J. Call, for coming up the track and causing a collision. Unfortunate, it does seem to be like he got loose, and sometimes you're just not able to control it. Sometimes it just gets away from you.
Well, and he's already had more than a few good saves tonight, so at some point the luck runs out. You know, you can save it once, you can save it twice, but you're not saving it a third time.
Yeah, and after this 7th caution, I believe you said, our top 10 is going to look as follows. You have Muhammad Ali, Daniel Nanny, Zach DeWale, who I believe was nearly a lap down early in this race. But I think what happened is that since DeWale and I believe it was Whitlock with him, since they were in front of the leaders when the caution came out, they're actually able to get their lap back. So let's see then. P4, Charles Wimbley, Ryan Whitlock, Brandon Schulenberger, Benjamin Neller, Zachary Tallman, Nick Stockner, and Edward Sanchez actually is able to keep it in P10, and that's going to round out your top 10 for the moment.
I believe I count 8 different schools inside the top 10 at the moment. That is incredible. It shows you just how competitive this field is here tonight, but also that's bad news for anybody that's not a Ball State driver, as they are the only school that has repeat drivers inside the top 10. And even worse news if you're not a Ball State driver, when you look at the front and you see both lines being led by Ball State cars.
Yeah, because you know that as soon as possible, Leaf and Daniel are going to want to try to connect up, form a train, maybe even with Wimbley or Zach, who have been really quick, and they know Leaf and Daniel will know that they've been quick. So if they can all form a train together, they'll be able to take off into the distance. And I stand corrected, Edward Sanchez did have to pit for damage, so he's dropping through the order right now. It's actually going to be Edwin Onofre to round out your top 10. Who actually, great comeback race from him. We talked about earlier, had to serve an unfortunate drive-through, has made his way back up to the top 10. So very good. He worked his way around the cautions, and we're about to go green here, so I'll let you take it away.
Yep, here are we, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially going to go CIL overtime. You didn't pay for your ticket to this race because we're bringing it to you live from floatic.net. But you're getting some extra racing for your money. The rules of overtime are simple. We're going to have a green flag lap, we're going to have a white flag lap, and then the checkered flag will fly. If the leader takes the white flag, then the next flag will end the race. And actually, I believe we only have one overtime attempt. So we're going to take the green, and if we see a caution flag before the checkered flag, then the race will be over, the field will be frozen, and they will be scored as is. But here we go. 2 laps, 5 miles. Muhammad Ali and Daniel Nanny going to take to the restart zone one last time. Who's going to be crowned the Daytona 250 champ?
And I will say one more thing. The stewards had deemed that Andrew Staggy's penalty, the drive-through, was an unfair, unjust penalty given out by iRacing, and they've actually cleared his penalty, and he will not have to come down the pit lane at pit lane speeds to serve that drive-through anymore.
So good news for him, as Alif and Nanny are able to link up on the bottom line. Wimbley's going to dart out to the outside, out in front of Brandon Schulenberger to try and lead that line. Schulenberger looking to punt him to the outside. He's going to get hung out to dry on the high side as the rest of the field goes by them, but it is still Alif out front. Zach DeWale leading a charge with Ryan Whitlock to try and take the lead as they come through turns 3 and 4. They're going to see the white flag this time by
Charles Wimbley has been driving a great race.
Trouble 71 goes spinning through the infield. He's the only car spinning. We stay green. White flag is out at Daytona.
Yeah, and it looks like Alif and Daniel have linked up here. Daniel is pushing through the corners. He is saying, let's go. We're going. It's last lap. We're sending it all the way. And if you're able to, pushing through the corners, I talked about this a little bit earlier, is slightly viable, and it looks like they're going to do it here. I don't think Zach can have the run here.
I don't think you're right. I don't think the Whales got the run. This is the race for the win. Muhammad Alif trying to win 2 races in a row for Ball State University. Daniel Nanny just behind him. He's going to take the peak to the outside.
Shit.
Who's going to get the better run? It's going to be a drag race down the straightaway.
No.
It's Nanny out by a bumper. Will he get it to the line? Here comes Whitlock down on the inside.
No.
They wreck across the line. Daniel Nanny is a Daytona 250 champion.
I said it. Your friends until lap 100. Daniel and Leaf were pushing all the way into the last corner, and Daniel said, you know what? I want this win. Left his teammate out to dry. And Daniel, congratulations, man.
What a phenomenal end to that race. A drag race to the line. A late surge by Ryan Whitlock, and he will take second place. Unbelievable run from out of nowhere for that Alabama Huntsville driver. And Zach DeWale still comes away with the alumni champion, or with the alumni win for his class for St. Clair College. What a race!
That was such a great race. The ending there was absolutely insane. We saw cars crossing the finish line turn because at that point they know this is iRacing. They don't have to deal with the damages. They don't have to deal with the costs of this broken race car. Once they cross that line, the race is over. It doesn't matter if they're sideways. It doesn't matter if their car is smothered into oblivions. All that matters is the order you cross that checker. Ryan Whitlock and the Leaf knew this, and they tangled together. They tangled. They were super aggressive. They tangled. And they said, you know what? They're sending it. And it ended up in Ryan Whitlock's favor.
As Nanny is going to burn it down on the front stretch. He is officially a Daytona 250 champ here in the Flexware College Cup Series. It's the biggest honor you can get for winning a race, and it goes his way and Ball State after an incredible last corner maneuver to take the lead away from Muhammad Alif, and he is going to celebrate. And we're going to talk to all of our top 3 drivers as well as our alumni winner, Zach DeWale, in just a few moments. But we're going to let them celebrate. Folks, look at this finish.
Wow.
Look how close it was. Nanny in a league of his own. Whitlock turning across the nose of the 12. He actually finishes second sideways across the line, and there is the margin of victory. That is unbelievable.
I'd also love to ride on. I'd love to ride on board with Ryan Whitlock, as I believe he made a very aggressive move to the inside to make this P2 possible. So that would be a very cool car camera to take a look at. But yeah, as you see, Schulenberger just barely beats out a Leaf there, just by absolute millimeters, to take away that final podium position.
The margin of victory, less than 4 hundredths of a second between second and third place. But we are going to go ahead and jump into our interviews, and let's talk to the man who has won it all. Daniel Nanny from Ball State University. You are a Daytona 250 champ. How does it feel?
Yeah, that was kind of nice. I feel guilty for taking the way away from my teammate. But when I saw those guys behind me, I knew I had to take it just to be able to get the win for Ball State. But other than that, it feels nice, and it's not as big as winning the Road to Pro race last Thursday, but it's still up there.
Yeah, and you were you're just really staying inside that top 10 all race, just trying to stay a little bit back, and you made your final lunge at the end. Out. Was that kind of your strategy going into this race?
My strategy was just surviving. Daytona, everybody's gonna wreck. I was involved in at least a couple of accidents. I think I ended the race with like 20 incident points, which is not ideal, but yeah, it's just all about surviving to the end, and thankfully I survived to the end.
Well, survive to the end, indeed you did. A couple of moments there where you got caught up in some incidents and avoided them, bouncing back up to the front. But what a phenomenal race for both you and Ball State. This is now your second win in the season, and you have furthered the trend that only rookies have won the Daytona 250. What sort of victory? What does a victory like this mean for you going into the rest of the season and the playoffs in just 1 month time?
Well, it has a lot of momentum to it. I'm definitely gonna have a lot of fun going into the rest of the season. I don't have to really worry about, racing that competitive. I can help my teammates lock into the playoff, and I don't really have to be as selfish as I was there. And hopefully, in the next race I do, I can help my teammates lock into the playoff instead.
Well, congratulations on your Daytona 250 championship. Go celebrate it with your teammates. But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while we've got you on the show?
I have to give a major shout out to all the Ball State guys for working with
Yes,
me.
sir.
Yeah, you too. It could suck you in the race, but yeah, I have to give a huge shout out to the sponsors with LAL, Pepsi, and even I have to give a huge shout out to Echo. I love all the Echo guys. They got me to win in Road to Pro on Thursday, so yeah, I have to give a major shout out to them as always. And my parents, I know they're watching. Hi, mom. Hi, dad. And yeah, that's about it.
Daniel, this last up. Oh, this is backstretch, isn't it?
Well, Daniel, congratulations. Mom, Dad, your boy is a Daytona 250 champ here in the Flexware College Cup Series. Congratulations again, Daniel, and I know we'll see you back here soon in the booth.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That is tonight's winner, Daniel Nanny from Ball State University, the winner of the Freedom 250 presented by Flotic.net. But we're going to go ahead and talk to our runner-up finisher tonight, Ryan Whitlock from Alabama Huntsville, by a margin of 36 thousandths. You are on the second step of the Daytona 250. How does it feel?
Holy caholies. Those last two laps were unreal. I was so close to the win, but I truthfully think I didn't have it either way. I've never been so happy about a P2.
So that last lap, you're getting the push from the 34 car, CL Smith, and you're making some aggressive moves, some amazing moves down the inside of a leaf. What is going through your mind as you're doing that?
Well, when that wreck happened, at the line for the white flag, I thought, oh, I'm out of this. But then CL Smith gets behind me and gets closer and closer and closer and closer. And I think we can make something of this. I was in a call with the Whale, and he said he knows my run is too big. It's not even worth blocking. The moment I was clear of him, I just shot to the inside of a leaf. I knew outside is too much distance. That wasn't going to work. Inside was my only shot, but I still don't think I had enough of a run to take the win. And then my fellow competitor decided to throw a block a little bit late. So late that it wasn't a block, it was a door. But, I mean, end result was the same either way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to the white flag, and you just weren't even anywhere in the picture. And we are pretty much calling the race between DeWale, Nanny, and Alif. And then you somehow clutch second place. That is just an unbelievable run. What does this mean for you going forward in the season as we approach the playoffs?
I mean, I think it proves that I can get into the playoffs. I've always been a road racer. I think if you guys look at CPC results, it shows I'm a consistent podium finisher in that series, but my oval pace has never really been there. But I think making that happen at such a crazy place like Daytona, and then just consistent top 10 finishes everywhere else, I think it bodes well for me, and I'm glad that I'm improving, and it's enjoyable to watch myself, I guess.
Well, Ryan, congratulations on your runner-up finish tonight in the Daytona 250, and in spectacular fashion, sideways wrecking across the line as well. While we've got you in the show, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Well, I got to thank the entire Charger Motorsports team. We've had a lot going on. We're currently working on getting a real-life autocross car going that I'll be driving, so that's going to be a ton of fun. But those guys have my back all the time. I hope a few of them are watching. And I also got to give a shout-out to OWR. I was in the call with them for that race, and they're just a hoot to race with. Even though one of them turned me earlier, it was a laugh and it was a good time. So just got to thank Charger Motorsports and OWR.
Yeah, congratulations again, Ryan, and we'll see you back here in the booth soon on our Collegiate Prototype Challenge side.
Hopefully. Thanks, guys.
That was Ryan Whitlock, tonight's runner-up finisher at the Daytona 250, sliding across the line in proper Whitlock style, getting every point he can out of that to finish second. And then we're going to go ahead and talk to our final podium finisher tonight, Brandon Schulenberger of Wingate University. Brandon, we saw you had an absolutely incredible night tonight. You were in contention for the top 5 for pretty much the entire event, working really well with your teammate, Jake Cummings. Take us through that last little run to the line where the gates seemed to open and voila, you finished third.
Oh my gosh. The last like 3 restarts, I feel like I kept restarting on the outside and it kept biting me in the butt. And then coming to the white flag, I was probably like 6th or 7th, maybe 8th at that point. And I think Wallet and someone else collided, and I think I was sitting 6th, and we were kind of like 2-3 car packs. But I knew the 3 of us in that second group, if we could stay together, we were going to have a huge run on those top 3 guys. And man, we came to the line, and I was just hoping the 34 and the 81 went high. I was hoping Doyle was going to leave the bottom open, and I should have ducked below the double yellow line because I think that's legal on the last lap. I should have known that in case it came down to something like this. And Alif and Whitlock got together, and me and Alif were basically tied at the line. It was like 0.000, so it was some insanely small decimal for that last third, that spot on the podium. But that was, I had no idea what was going to happen coming to the line. But this being my first podium in CIO was a beautiful way to end, because we had run a good race and then we had gotten some damage earlier, and we slowly climbed back, and caution after caution at the end. I was like, man, I just, it's so hard to finish these races. And at the end, we were just in the perfect spot to get that podium, and it's super, just feels so relieving finally getting that first podium.
So going back to the start of the race, you're working a lot there with your teammate Jake Cummings, and unfortunately for him, he got wrecked out a bit. So did you feel kind of like left out to dry? Because a lot of these other drivers in the top 10, they had their partner, right? You know, you saw the Clemson cars pairing up, the Auburn cars pairing up, the Ball State cars pairing up. So what was really the change in mindset once you lost your teammate there?
Yeah, so I had lost Jake, and I've never really liked super speedway racing. I never considered myself good at it, but me, Jake, and Edward were actually all in the same call together. So I was actually able to work with him and kind of help him, because he knows a lot more about super speedway racing. So he was able to kind of help me get back to the front. So I had gotten all the damage fixed that I could, and I think about lap 65 is when we kind of went on that high line single file train, and I had just luckily gotten in the high lane at the perfect time to get maybe in the top 10. Kind of rode that out, and those last 2 to 3 cautions, just I was surprised there was that many cars on the lead lap at the end of it. At the end, I was just trying to find the open space. I had no idea honestly where to go, who to work with. I just knew whoever was in front of me, I was just going to push them all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, you mentioned it. This is your first podium in the Flexware College Cup Series, and it's at the biggest race of the season as well, on the podium for the Daytona 250. What does this mean for you going forward?
I mean, I think more than anything, it's definitely a confidence booster, because this is definitely, I think this is my third next gen cup series in CIL, and I feel like each semester I just get a little quicker and a little quicker. So this semester my goal was to make the playoffs. That was my major goal, and I think right now I was sitting like 12th, and I've been trying to do a little extra practice than normal for each race, and the results have been coming in, and I think this P3 will really help in the points. But I think more than anything, it's just a confidence booster that, I can really race with some of the top guys in CIL, and I need to tell myself that and remind myself that when thinking that I can't, hang with them.
Well, a super speedway racer you are now indeed. Congratulations, Brandon. Uh, while we've got you here on the show for the first time, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while you've got the floor?
I'd like to shout out my girlfriend, Dixie. She usually tunes into these races, and I'm very appreciative of that. And definitely want to shout out my dad. He's just, he's been very supportive of me, doing sim racing since I started, and even he likes to tune into these streams as well. So definitely shout out to both of them for, kind of just keeping me motivated and, letting me work towards this goal of just continuing to succeed more in sim racing.
Well, congratulations again. That first podium always feels the best. And hopefully we'll see you back up here in the booth soon on in the season.
Yeah, that's the goal. I hope so.
Yeah, congratulations again, Brandon, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Y'all too.
That was tonight's third place finisher from Wingate University, Brandon Schulenberger, with a phenomenal night tonight to get his first ever podium in the Flexware College Cup Series. And we're going to do that rare fourth interview with Zach DeWale of St. Clair College. He was the highest finishing alumni coming across the line in, I believe, fifth place. Am I correct on that?
I believe so, sir.
Yeah, fifth place overall, but is going to secure the win points for the alumni class and the alumni class, individual, and college championships. So, congratulations on your class win.
Thanks. I mean, there was a point in the race I had no idea it was even going to be a possibility, but yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with it, but wish I could have done something, maybe got a win at the end.
So I'd like to start off this interview with the apology of what happened at the Roval. I hope no hard feelings are there from that. I mean, I am up here because of that, so I guess I got the worst of it anyways. But anyways, at one point in the race, it seemed like you were a lap down. So how are you able to claw your way through that? Like claw your way back, basically.
I mean, I think I just got lucky getting the wave around, but the whole reason I was lapped down is I had a technical issue with my pedals. So I tried to reset them, and while I was doing that, I must have bumped the power button on my PC, and I had to completely reset the whole thing. Which that took about a lap to do apparently. So thankfully we only lost one lap, or we probably would not have finished anywhere near the top 5 today.
Yeah, but 2 back-to-back races for you where you had to come back from the back of the field, and 2 races in a row you finished top 10. Did you finish top 5 in the Roval? I kind of forget.
I don't think I think I might have got 6th or 7th.
Yeah, but 2
Roval.
top 10. Yeah, 2 top 10 finishes after a comeback race. So very, very good races for you here in the Cup Series.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was really surprising. I'm really happy for Ryan. He made a crazy move at the end there. I just want to shout him out for that because that was insane.
Well, so did you. I mean, coming across the line, we had pretty much written you off from the win here in the booth. Like, we thought the race was going to be between Nanny and Alif, and then here you come with Whitlock out of nowhere, pretty much on the last corner. So take us through that move with you two working together to try and charge your way back up to the front.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first got on the lead lap, or maybe the restart after, Whitlock was back there too. We had a problem, I think, some kind of got shuffled out, and we got linked together, and we just decided it's late in the race. We're just gonna try and split the middle, and thankfully the side draft's so strong in this car that we didn't have any issue speeding up through the whole field. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely not expected to be able to close up to the leaders that quickly. It was a very nice surprise.
Well, you're walking away with a top 5 overall at the Daytona 250 and the alumni class win. Congratulations. While we've got you on the show, you know the drill. Thank or shout out.
Yeah, for sure. Trent, Chloe, Riley, Jordan, Emily, excuse me, everyone at home watching, all the OWR guys, and especially Ryan. Had a great run, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to get back up to the top 5 without his help today. So yeah, a lot of people to thank today, and definitely not myself for putting myself a lap down in the first place.
Well, you came back and finished the race in spectacular fashion. Congratulations again, Zach, and hopefully we'll see you in the booth for your home race next week.
That's the plan. We'll see.
Yeah, congratulations again.
Thank you.
That was our alumni class winner tonight, Zach DeWale from St. Clair College, bringing it home 5th overall, but is going to score a ton of points for both school and himself in the alumni championship. And that's going to conclude our interviews. Lucas, you joined the booth for the first time, and it was an instant CIL classic race. It was drama all the way from the start to the end. A phenomenal finish with the wreck across the line. Great racing all day. Wow. What more can you say than that?
I mean, it was a pleasure being able to watch it up here from the booth. As much as I would have loved to actually race it, I'm gonna say I did really enjoy this. You know, sometimes it's nice being able to be just an onlooker, watch all the chaos happen, and not actually have to be involved in any of it.
Oh, trust me, it's a lot of fun watching the races too. But yeah, ultimately, Daniel Nanny going to walk away with that victory, a last flat pass on his teammate Art Muhammad Alif. So the Ball State room might be a little fun tonight. Those two drivers hopefully resolving that between themselves right now. But we've got a couple loose ends to tie up on this show. So we're going to go ahead and get through our final unofficial finishing order from the Daytona 250. Your winner tonight, Daniel Nanny from Ball State University, the next in line to wear the crown of Daytona 250 champ. Ryan Whitlock from Alabama Huntsville will finish second. Brandon Schulenberger finishes P3 for Wingate University, and in a dead heat with Art Muhammad Alif down to the 10,000th of a second, Alif will finish P4 for Ball State. Zach DeWale finishes P5 overall for St. Clair College, but takes the alumni class win. Logan Smith from Auburn University caps off his incredible night with a P6 finish. 7th goes to Charles Wembley from Guilford College. 8th goes to Landon Valecki from Auburn. Edwin Onofre will finish P9 for the University of North Texas. Great recovery drive from him, as well as Nick Stockner finishing P10 for Clemson.
And P11, Jason Watt of Jackson University. Right behind that, P12, Edward Sanchez from Baruch College. And then Sky Schreck, who made a couple appearances in the top 10, will finish 13th for University of Oklahoma. Then Ricky Paz, my dark horse pick, finishing down in 14th for Valparaiso University. And my pick to win it all, Andrew Stege, in 15th place for Ball State University. Right behind him, Ball State teammate Benjamin Neller. And then Zachary Tallman for Penn College of Technology in P17. P18 is also Penn College of Technology, Michael Sidor. And behind that is another Pennsylvania College, not Penn College of Technology, but Pennsylvania State University, Carmine Caruso in 19th. And Alex Finity round off your top 20 for UNC Charlotte.
P21 goes to Jake Hall from Clemson University. His teammate Andrew Burrell will finish 22nd. 23rd goes to the 22 of Austin DeLong from PCT. Valpo's Ethan Decatur will finish 24th after having a strong day. Jake Cummings finishes 25th for Wingate University. Clint Halterman 26th for UNC Charlotte. 27th, Matthew Burton from East Tennessee State. Felix Caporale will finish 28th for East Carolina University. Dylan Godinez in the 808 will finish 29th. For PCT, Penn State's Peyton Dulong will finish 30th. 31st goes to Matt Nordberg from NC State. Timothy Wilms for Drexel will finish 32nd. Andrew Williams, Clemson University, my pick to win in 33rd. So I'll get, you know what? I'll take the L on this one. You win, Lucas. You get the point.
I'll take it.
Elton Quick for Ball State will finish 34th. Trevor Rizzo 35th for Clemson. Alan Hong 36th for St. Clair College. And Lucas Moody joining us in the booth tonight.
101 laps down. I ran a pretty bad race out there today.
Yeah, what a terrible driver, am I right? Someone get him off the team.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Alif's already been talking about that, yeah. He says, I don't know about this Lucas Moody guy anymore. He's driving too recklessly. All jokes, of course.
Well, the checkered flag has flown, and Daniel, Nanny, and Ball State have claimed the most coveted single race prize in all of college sim racing. They are the Daytona 250 champions. And on top of that, they furthered their case in the playoffs as the end of the regular season looms ever closer in just 4 weeks' time. And as we look forward to the playoffs, there's still more than plenty of racing left and lots of spots up on the line. The next opportunity comes next Monday night as the Flexware College Cup Series goes international for the first time in series history. We're going to the land of maple syrup, hockey, and Tim Hortons for our press subscribe Montreal Grand Prix presented by @CureAlmy on YouTube. We're going to the legendary Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where not even the NASCAR Cup Series cars have gone before, as road course ringer Muhammad Alif tries to snag his second win of the season. And Matt Morton will hopefully try to make up for his incident to end last week's race. So be sure you don't miss any of that action as we take you trackside live here on CIL Vision next Monday night at 8:30 Eastern. And if you can't wait for more CIL action, Formula C heads to the legendary Imola circuit for the second Italian Grand Prix. Muhammad Alif has furthered his lead at the top of the table, but the battle for the rest of the top 10 is heating up. So be sure to tune in this Wednesday night for our twin sprints beginning at 8:45 Eastern live here on CIL Vision. And then on Thursday, our Collegiate Prototype Challenge heads to Le Mans, France for our second endurance race of the season, the 1.5 hours of Le Mans. It's one prestigious race to another as our collegiate GTP drivers head to the virtual Circuit de la Sarthe and the French flag flies over the CIL for the first time. Will Muhammad Alif bring an end to Jordan Johnson's unprecedented win streak in the Prototype Challenge, or will another driver step up to the top of the most prestigious sports car race in the CIL? Catch all of the action live this Thursday night at 8:45 Eastern. And I believe that is going to do it for all of us tonight. So on behalf of myself, co-commentator Lucas, producers Christian and Keith, and all of us here at the CIL, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to tonight's Freedom 250 at Daytona, brought to you by Flotic.net. And until next time, stay fast.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.